Ayo, Aaron,
What's going on?
welcome, guys.
I'm
Appreciate
back.
it.
How are you guys? Seriously, how are you?
Conflicting question.
Yeah, it's I've been getting a lot of that, right? Just text. It's crazy, man. It's I'm not gonna say it's a feeling I haven't felt before, right? And when I compare, waking up, I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday, because I think it happened on Memorial Day, and then Tuesday is when all the outrage happened. And Tuesday night, I think it hit me at like 1 in the morning. You know what I'm saying? And
You were in bed.
Yeah, I couldn't sleep, and I'm just scrolling through the timeline, watching the video. I watched the video like noon in the office on Tuesday, and then I'm scrolling through the timeline. I got peoples who know him. Apparently, I found out my cousin in Houston went to high school, buddy. Like they graduated together. The restaurant where he basically got strangled in front of him. One of my best friends growing up owns that restaurant, so I recognize the spot. So there's just so many things when it happened. Like I saw myself. It really just hit me different because when it comes to police brutality and violence and just killing black folks, it always hits me, right? But this one was just different. And, I mean, I'm telling you, I got to get to the office the next morning, and I am up, wide awake, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. Finally, like 5:30 rolls around. I'm like, I'm not going in tomorrow. I just can't. So I texted people at the office. I'm like, yo, I'm gonna let y'all know right now, like, I'm not feeling hot and blah blah blah. I'm not going. But it was man, I'm not good. I think right now it's probably the best I felt, and I think it's just because I came back from over south, just dropping out some groceries and whatnot, and doing some cleaning. But for the most part, like I tell you, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and even this morning, the emotions, it hasn't even been a roller coaster. It's just been down. Like I've been down for like 72 hours straight, off top.
Dang. Yeah. I guess my question, like, cause I love you, man. You're
I
one of
love
my
you,
you're like one of my favorite guys, and the fact that
I
it's
appreciate
funny.
it. I appreciate it.
Texting last night about everything, and like we were literally talking 24 hours ago, like we gotta have someone from the black. Who can we have a conversation with? And we were like, we gotta either have like Ayo or Moise or someone. Going down the list. 20 minutes later, you had DM'd me,
Yeah.
and I was just like, thank God, like that's awesome.
I know we were talking about getting back on, and honestly, just with everything's going, I've been more vocal now about this than I ever have.
Mm-hmm.
I've always been vocal, always been an advocate. Don't get it twisted. And like, my brother over here can speak for me. I've never been one to be quiet and just let things slide. But again, just being in a certain different community where we see some on one of our Zoom calls the other night. When you're the only in a room, you don't want to shake it up too much.
Mm-hmm.
And that's always been, an internal fear of all of us. And I could speak for us as a group, all of us. And I was sick of being only, and I was sick of being the only that, y'all saw and thinking everything was all right. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So
I've just been more vocal and more just like, whatever. I'm going to say what's in my head, and I don't care if I ruffle feathers because, like, at the end of the day, I'm also part of the reason that people was just finding out this shit was happening. Like, this shit been happening. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
And I don't think y'all know to the extent, because y'all might see a few videos here and there. But, like, we can't go out on the weekends without seeing one of our brothers getting, like, mace tased, beat up, harassed downtown. Like, that happens all the time. Y'all just don't hear about it because nobody's dying. But when people start to die, y'all seeing the 1% that's on camera. Let's add to that the people that die off camera, that the justice system kind of leans the evidence towards making it seem like they were guilty. Then let's talk to the people that didn't die that are just harassed. Then let's talk to the people that weren't even really cuffed and harassed, just afraid of afraid of 12. You know what I mean? Just like, we don't mess with them. We just don't. And it's like, I have cop friends. I got some good cop friends, but it's like, when we think from a young age, like just being black and your run-ins with the police starts early for us. Whether it was you yourself or your parents or a family member you saw get either arrested. Whether they was doing illegal stuff or not, but the point is we see that early on, and we've always had this shell when it comes towards them. So like when y'all listening to music and seeing people talk about stuff, it's like it sounds fun to repeat and whatnot. But like y'all go to a barbecue, it's really fuck 12. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's really folks that feel that way. And I get it. There's good cops. There's good cops. But again, like you put good cops into a system, and the system that's not designed to help a certain demographic succeed, that system is going to overrule the goodness, whether you mean it or not.
Right.
Period. Point blank. You know what I mean? So that was real vague, and we got a lot of time today, so we could dig deep into more stuff. But I just kind of want to talk just from like a ceiling level.
Yeah.
Well,
sorry.
I'm curious from like you growing up in North Minneapolis, correct?
He grew up in North Minneapolis.
Aaron, you were from North Minneapolis. What part of Minneapolis?
I'm from St. Paul.
Right.
East Side, North St. Paul, Oakdale, and
Gotcha.
Woodbury, so everywhere.
Awesome. And just from like people close to you, friends, family, what has it been like? And you just kind of articulate a little bit, but like what is said when you're in situations with cops, or you're in situations like what is coming from your parents, what are coming from your friends? I'm just curious from someone that has not experienced
what kind of friends though? We talking white friends? We talking black friends?
Black friends.
It's a difference.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about us getting in trouble with the police,
or just in general,
running into them,
yeah.
When it comes to black friends, it's funny because like we just expect it. You know what I mean? We just expect it, so it's not really a conversation. Like if something happened, and I can say this out loud because he's my boy, and he would want this to be said. I remember one time I was walking in Northeast. I used to live in Northeast. I was just walking down the street, and all of a sudden I seen like 4 cops cuff the dude off his bike, and I'm like, the hell? Pull up, it's my boy JJ Swain. Dad used to play for the Vikes, head football coach over at Edison High School. Good dude, nothing but great dude in the community. He used to play for the Vikes for a little bit, played All-American in Northern Iowa. Good, upstanding character of the community. And they hit him, right? And it's probably like 2 cop cars. He's just sitting there handcuffed, and I'm just trying to grab some ice cream. So I'm like, damn, what's going on? And Jay's getting handcuffed. He's getting roughed up a little bit. And it's just crazy because I know JJ. I'm like, why are you guys arresting this dude? And they trying to say that he stole a bike. I'm like, man, how y'all know he stole a bike? Like, and then on top of that, why we don't arrest him first? You asked him, he said no. What is the process after that? Because I guarantee you, I don't know how bikes work. I know bikes is mad expensive. Last bike I had was a Huffy. You know what I mean? I got that joint from Walmart for like $40. Yes, so like, sir. I'm guessing these $1,000 bikes might have like VIN numbers on them or whatever. But I'm like, y'all gotta be able to do some research before you just got my man cuffed, face on the ground in his own neighborhood where he coaches. Probably has players, parents walking by seeing him cuffed. Because here's my thing: y'all see a black guy cuffed on the ground, and when I say y'all know what I'm talking about. When you see a black guy cuffed on the ground, what you guys see is somebody cuffed on the ground. He must be a criminal. Period. Y'all ain't thinking what it might be, what it could be. You don't know JJ. I know JJ got dreads. I know JJ got a beard. I know JJ looks like he fits the description. So that's what you probably thinking, like, damn, there goes another one. Yeah. Like you're a parent with a kid on the team, you see him like, damn, that's my son's coach, and look at him getting arrested. I thought he was different. Yeah. And so many things go on. So, go back to your question. What are the black friends saying? That's what we saying. White friends saying like they reaching out, and I do appreciate people reaching out. I can't reply, and I haven't replied just because like I don't know if I'm ready to unload. I don't know if I'm ready to be like, hey man, thanks, I appreciate it. It's all good, because it's not all good,
right?
And that's what it's been for like the past 29 years for me. Like, hey, nah, it's all good, whatever. Because I'm telling you it's all good, y'all think it's all good, and y'all don't think it's a real issue, right? So,
well, that's what, and I
think that's interesting as well. If I could just add on.
Go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
One of the things that I will say has been most problematic for me is when we're talking about friends versus family. You know, I have, all my African American friends are kind of all over the place.
Go ahead, say black, bro.
Black. They're all over the place. We have someone saying, "Oh, you're burning my community." You have other people that saying, "Fuck Target." Where was Target when Jamar Clark took a bullet to the back of his head?
Thanks.
Where was AutoZone? Where were these large corporations that you are so concerned about them now being burnt down when your people in your face? It's not even hidden anymore. See, the thing about it that he said that was so true is that this has always been happening. Now it's just popular. And now that it's popular, it's like, okay, that 1% is making everybody look bad. And the thing is, like, there's confusion because there is a lack of understanding of what the next steps are. We said, okay, we'll kneel at a football game to show people that there's a problem with police brutality in America. And then we were called un-American. Because I said I hated racism, they told me I hated America.
Spin that narrative.
Yeah. And then we said, okay, smooth. We won't do it at our job, quote unquote. Because that was the route that everybody took is, well, if I were to, protest at my job, they would fire me too. Okay, cool. So now what we're going to do is we're going to disrupt your life. So I'm going to organize a group of 100 people to walk down Broadway so you can't move. So you recognize the inconvenience of stop and frisk. So you recognize the inconvenience of being in a position where you are powerless. You have to let me pass. I'm not asking you. And what's interesting about that to me was that when Black Lives Matter and other organizations were out here and they're blocking the streets and they're out here on the highways and they're saying I can't breathe because Eric Garner was the originator of that. Everybody was so concerned about ambulances getting to the hospital. Everybody was so concerned about parents getting back to their children. Everybody was so concerned about taking care of the elderly. But just a few weeks ago, a whole armed group of individuals stood in front of the governor's mansion, intentionally and strategically blocked hospitals.
Big strapped.
Yeah.
Big strapped.
Yeah. Stopped it strategically. Nobody said anything. But I thought we were so concerned about the ambulances getting there. And this is in the middle of a pandemic. This isn't even like, we just have an emergency. Literally, it's the middle of a pandemic in which people are dying. 100,000 Americans' lives have been taken by COVID-19, and then you block the way.
Right.
So we said, okay. You said that was unacceptable. So we're not going to do that. So we're going to have a day where the black dollar doesn't circulate in anybody else's community but ours. Then we get called racist.
What
was that one?
So what it was basically about is we understand that a lot of these are accepting our dollars so freely, right? Are not the targets that are stepping in when it's time for injustice and it's time for you to say something. The auto zones, they're not saying anything. The Wendy's,
T-Mobile,
the McDonald's, the T-Mobiles, they're not saying anything. So it's like, okay, since you don't recognize who we are, but you recognize my dollars, you're going to recognize his absence. If you look at the population of African Americans in the country and you look at our spending power.
Just the United States, by the way. Just the United States. We're not talking about the continent of Africa, by the way, because that would enormously ignite these numbers.
12th in the world.
Wow.
Actually, that's been updated. It's 8th.
Oh,
we would be the 8th, just African Americans, black people in the United States.
Spending power.
Spending wise, GDP, gross spend, whatever you want to call that, we would be the 8th largest nation in the world. So think about what are the largest nations? Probably India, China, United States, whatever. So we'd be equivalent to like a France.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We'd be the size of France. Imagine if France just stopped training with everybody. That's how big it would be if we banded together in the United States and stopped our dollar purchasing power.
Wow. So that's, like you said, just black people within the United States is the 8th largest spending or GP, and they could be looked at as a spending nation.
Money flowing.
Wow.
Facts.
And
that's
so
crazy.
That's the thing. That's what I'm saying is that what other way can I show you now?
Yeah.
Yes, I'm from North Minneapolis, and one thing I respect about where I come from is like, yeah, it can be a little rough around the edges, but we're also the type of individuals where we're like, all right, I'm gonna let you run your mouth and know what you're talking about, but go about your business. And then you don't go about your business. And then I have to show you because I told you to go about your business, but you weren't listening. So now I'm gonna have to show you, get out my way. That's what this is. This is not the first time that a riot has broken out in North Minneapolis. There was riots in Plymouth in 1967 for the same reasons. Some people will say, oh, well, there's conflicting reports about what happened during that time. Well, the official report is that some black youth got angry, they got upset, and they put a Molotov through one of the business owners. It was a Jewish guy who was a business owner, put it through there, and then everything just lit up. The unofficial story was that there was an African-American man who was talking to the police for whatever reason, and the police officer and him, for whatever reason, allegedly got into it. And even though the police officer said that he was attacked, this brother was shot in the back. And we tore the city up.
Dang.
And if you look to people like Dr. Josie, who is a longtime historian around here, civil rights, she will tell you that what she saw, she said there were significant inconsistencies in terms of jobs, the economy. There was issues where sometimes they wouldn't come pick their trash up for weeks.
Wow.
Sound familiar?
Right. So
And now here we are again.
yeah, and I feel like a lot of people have known that too. It's like, oh my gosh, it's happening again.
Now
Type of thing.
you've heard it.
Heard.
Hearing and knowing, two different things, right? Because every
Yeah.
coach I had growing up told me if you knew better, you do better. So if you didn't do better, you probably didn't know better. You may have heard it, but you were ignoring it. But my
Yeah.
bad. Continue what you're saying.
Well, because like from my standpoint as a white guy, I'm always trying to figure out, okay, how can I help you guys out? And I just want to ask that question, like, what do we need to do, and how can we help to the best of our ability? Obviously, knowing and educating and listening. That's been my thing. Being aware of it, obviously, but for the long term, going forward, what do we need to do in your opinion?
That's a good question.
I'll
And,
pass it off to you first.
Yeah, I'm just gonna start it off, and I'll let you bring it home. That's why I brought my attorney with me.
Yeah, well, real quick, we gotta introduce Aaron.
Yeah, my bad. Aaron, go ahead.
Oh, hey.
Why you put on the sexy voice?
Crazy. My name is Aaron Abram. I originally am from North Minneapolis. I currently am serving as an attorney in the Eau Clare area, practicing criminal as well as family law.
Cool.
Before becoming an attorney with the state of Wisconsin, I was community organizer for Take Action Minnesota. Justice for All was the program that we were running at that time. Restore the Vote. Make sure y'all looking that up. Restore the Vote. Make sure it passes. You hear me?
They're gonna put a link right across right here.
Yeah.
No, I got you. But I've also just been involved in politics my entire life. Mother made sure that, especially being over north, Bobby Joe Champion, that's my godfather, who's currently an elected official. I've known now Attorney General Keith Ellison all my life. Actually was an intern in his office for years.
Nice.
Individuals like James Everett over north, working in the streets with people. They do a lot of youth development work. I was working actually with Mayor Sharon Sells Belton. I was on their very first, basically it was like a youth congress where she brought the youth together, and we were, helping her understand what we were going through and how she could make policies or things of that nature to help us out. So I've been around to see a lot of this.
Yeah.
I'm not new to this. I'm true to this. So
Say that.
How do you know Ayo?
Oh, that's my brother, man.
This is my guy.
So let's talk more about the group, because I'm wearing a Monitors hat, as you can see.
Oh.
So I'm repping the OGs.
Okay.
Me and Aaron met through a group. So Jack and Jill of America, probably never heard of it. And again, after this, you guys will hear a lot of things you never heard about. Jack and Jill of America, I don't know how to explain it. It's a group of mothers throughout the United States who band together to create a community for their children, right? Generally more successful folks, right? Would you say, generally? And they're just trying to raise their kids around other black kids. So Jack and Jill of America, our chapter here in the Twin Cities, started a group called Rites of Passage. Jack and Jill, the mothers. And then on top of that, Mr. Henry Crosby, who is a freaking legend.
Shout out
He's
to
literally
the
our
OG
father.
of the OGs.
Literally my father. I was just on the phone with him 2 days ago.
My man.
But put me on Hella Game, and that might be something you guys want to get him a podcast in 3-part series. He'll talk.
3-part.
So Mr. Crosby started a group called Rites of Passage back in 1998. 1998. What that is a group of seniors in high school in the Twin Cities from all over St. Paul, Minneapolis, suburbs, north, south, east, west, all of that. it's mainly for athletes, scholars in the Twin Cities, right? Students that not necessarily going to college, but just we're trying to bring our black youth together and put them through this program, which is a necessity as far as growing up in this world and being educated and being black. That's three different things that you'll need someone guiding you. And there's a group of mentors in that group. That group is a lot of the successful businessmen and corporate employees in the Twin Cities. So they mentored us at age 17. So that group is important and near and dear to my heart, and I'm really close to the group still. I'm one of the leaders of the Alumni Association. But it's a group that's a necessity, but that's how I met Aaron. We were at, I think it was my senior year. Was it the basketball game?
Yes.
So
your senior year. I came back.
Yeah. So my group was in 2009. Yay. It was we always have a reunion the day after Christmas, and there's a basketball game where it's like the initiates, past initiates versus the OGs, and I think I met Aaron in the post. That's where I met Aaron.
Literally, back and forth.
He came back from school, and we was throwing bowls like Barkley and Rodman, my boy. And we, it was funny because we was eating later, talking.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But eating later, talking, having a good time, and
Nice.
then we've just connected since then, and that's how we met.
That's awesome.
That's how we met. We've
That's
always
super
stayed
cool.
close, and I've always admired what him and his class were doing. A lot of exemplary black students and now employees or business owners in the Twin Cities from his age, and I just want to be just like these guys. So
Cool.
I stay tight with them.
That's awesome, man. That's like
Yes.
again, never even knew about that organization, but that's freaking awesome. That's
Yeah,
so
vice
phenomenal,
versa,
man.
Yep.
All right, so
and
back to my
you
question.
wouldn't, and on top of that, that's partially our fault. So again, moving forward, one of my things is I'm not gonna be quiet about this shit. So
Right.
Yeah,
It is.
exactly. Okay, so what do white people need to do to help progress everything and move things and have a better tomorrow going
So-
forward?
So do you guys know what gaslighting is? Have you heard of that term?
Briefly.
I do not.
You could probably explain it better. You want to explain gaslighting real quick, like Urban Dictionary version, just 3 sentences.
It's basically like, in my dumb way of going at it, is basically like if you draw something that's blue on the board and you basically tell everybody it's red, and you just do it over and over again until people believe it.
That's an interesting definition. I
That's
wouldn't
an
say
interesting one.
Okay,
The
so
way-
I don't know.
it's not wrong. Like it could be that, but it's not what it is.
I'm not known for knowing the definition of most things. So
Mhm.
I got you. I mean, how can I describe gaslighting? The way that I've seen it the most is kind of like when I tell you that you're doing something to me, and then you tell me that I'm paranoid or I'm making it up. It's a way for you to turn whatever you're doing to me back onto me and say that, like, what are you talking about? You're nuts.
got
Like,
it.
you don't know what you're talking about.
Okay.
In this context, it could be just the other day, because I too have been a bit more vocal on social media than I have as of late. And one of the things the person said that kind of triggered me is he said, this is going to be just like, the vast majority of the last 10 years of them lying about what's happening. And then he put in, hands up, don't shoot Mike Brown. He put Trayvon Martin as quote unquote the victim. And
Okay.
I was saying, what? Oh, and Mr. Smoulier, as Dave Chappelle would say, Juicy Smoulier.
Juicy Smollett.
Smoulier.
Jesse Smollett.
Yes. Shout out to Dave
He a
Chappelle.
fool, man.
And so my thing is, the reason why I would call something like that gaslighting is because what I did is I just turned around and I said, a word, and he gave me 5 names. I gave him 9.
Right.
What majority are you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those situations where it'll be 1,000 real situations, and then you find one juicy soulier, and you say, I knew all of this was fake.
Can you generalize it?
I knew all of this was.
Sure.
I knew you were just making it up. I knew you were just being victims and victimizing yourself and victimizing your community.
Oh, man.
It's not coming from a place of understanding. It's actually coming from a place of bias, because I'm only giving you the aha moment because I believed it initially.
Right.
You don't aha moment somebody when you're trying to understand.
Right.
So,
Yeah, great point.
Yes, I
So-
would say.
so
that's part of it.
So gaslighting. I'm gonna talk about gaslighting from a personal perspective. So again, I mean, I moved to Woodbury Minnesota, Whiteberry, whatever you want to call it, back when I was 16 years old. Then I went on to the University of St. Thomas, which if Woodbury was white, like St. Thomas was clear. That shit was like
So
just
true.
super white, right? So I spent about 6 years of my life and, you know, my developing years around a lot of gaslighting. It was a place where I knew who I was. I'm strong, I'm vocal, I'm whatever. But just to not ruffle feathers, there was a lot of things I would be apprehensive to say. And there was a lot of things that if I did say, I would be chastised through gaslighting. And, oh, bro, you're playing the black card, man. Come on, bro. Like, oh, you think he wasn't racist, he was this, he was this. Oh, man, she's not. And it's like, if you're not strong in your opinion, it's hard to move past gaslighting, right? If you're very strong in either your opinion or in numbers, that might not be as big of an issue. But when you're in a place, and I'm telling you, I guarantee you, y'all be in rooms with black people, but it's still more white people than black people.
Yeah.
And you guys have the power. You guys have the momentum, if you will. There's going to be rooms where someone's either afraid to say something, or they say something, they kind of get shut down. And they're going to be afraid because they don't want to say nothing to y'all because, like, oh, this is just going to, they aren't going to invite me out no more. They're going to think this, they're going to be that. Oh, he's playing the pity party. He's playing the pity card. And it's like, nah, man, it's not that. And we go back to church on Sunday, we leave our white communities and go back to our black communities, go back to our barbecues, churches, barbershops, whatever, and we feel empowered. He's like, nah, you're right. No, I just got whatever. So, again, y'all went to the black guy, proved to the black guy that what he was saying was false, went back and sleep fine tonight knowing that, okay, well, I've heard about this stuff. Now I just proved from this one person, which we just ganged up on, and I was able to come out with my conclusion. Meanwhile, that guy goes back knowing that he kind of just failed his whole demographic by not standing his ground. But that's a hard thing. It takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of knowledge. And honestly, there's some scary folks out there with some facts that are very misleading that can make you even believe. So like you said, when you like look at a line, think it's blue, but it's actually red, like that's kind of gaslighting. You just convinced me something I was almost positive of because you had more power than I did. I think that's the biggest thing I've experienced, especially, you know, being in a lot of white environments. Gaslighting's huge.
So, okay, so if I'm understanding this correctly, you know, for me, if I'm in a room again in that same situation where it's like, you know, there's a single black guy or whatever it is, like my job more so is simply not to try and turn the situation back on him, but just listen and be a part of the situation with him.
I mean, yeah, you can do that, and it's also just about understanding your place in the world. You know what I'm saying? Understanding that while it may not be as official of a caste system as they have in other countries, race does play a huge role in people's day-to-day lives. Right. The fears that they have, the way that they interpret. Now, to me, the primary reason for race is the establishment of power. That's why they codified it into law.
Oh, you might want to say that one more time.
Like, literally, white and black was codified into law in order to justify indentured servitude and then eventually slavery.
Right.
So there is a power dynamic that comes with being white and it's just sometimes a perception that people have because if they see you walking down the street and see me walking down the street, it's going to be a different response.
Right.
Just based off of what we see. Also, let's look at the environment that people are put in. I'll say one of the most crazy experiences I had. I used to work at University of Wisconsin, Oshkosh in 2016. Of course, because this is just how, unfortunately, a lot of corporate type environments work or university. As a black male, a lot of the black males who went to the school were automatically attracted to me. Like, yo, you a collegiate administrator? What's up, man? You know? And so, yeah, that was cool. But I had one student who, he's from Milwaukee. Now, if you know anything about Milwaukee, Milwaukee is the most segregated city in the United States.
The railroad, right? Yeah.
North America.
And I had a student literally say to me, he said, yo, Aaron, I don't know how to act around them. And I said, excuse me? Keep in mind, I'm from Minneapolis, right? I come from a place where your economics kind of determine who you around. That means I grew up around
more or less.
Some of my best friends are Caucasian. I also have my Hmong homeboys, my Somalian homeboys, you know what I'm saying, my Hispanic homeboys, because we were just, that was the environment we were in. We were all in it together, so I never had to separate how I acted in front of different people before,
right?
Because I'm just used to living in a diverse type area.
Right.
That was when it really hit me about the impact of the segregation. Is he said, yo, I don't know what to do. I don't want to, you know what I'm saying, piss somebody off. I don't want to do whatever. I've also heard that from some of my really good Caucasian friends. Never met a black person until they were 18. Met.
Wow.
That's powerful. And if you look at the stats, I was just reading an article a couple months ago that said if you look at the stats, a vast majority of America, their friends, are of the same demographic as they are. Vast majority.
So pause that real quick. Pause that. Think about that for a second. We're talking about white folks not meeting anybody black till they're 18. But we all got cable. And we all watching the news. Cops was a big show when we was growing up.
Bad.
And I used to laugh about cops because, like, funny thing about cops is, like, it be in our neighborhoods, but, like, it was never wild like that. Like, it was wild, but cops made it sound like that's what the hood was on every day. And it's not that crazy, right? It's not a fiend breaking into a bank and, starting a bonfire. You know what I mean?
Show.
So, like, if you from a place where you never met a black person before and all you watching is 50 Cent videos, cops, all you watching is movies, all you watching is them rap battles on YouTube we used to watch growing up, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
The cassette joints.
Yes.
Your perception of black people is already off.
Yeah.
And that could cause someone, no, not could, it will cause somebody to be a racist. Because all you're seeing is violence, loudness, and ignorance.
Sure.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah. Dang.
So, my bad. Keep going. I just want to make sure we caught the impact of people not meeting black people to 18 and understand how racism is systematic and how that even before you even encounter race, you can be racist. So,
Yeah, because race is a power dynamic, right? And it's a power dynamic because you could have the entire like populace of North Minneapolis say, this is what we want. And then you can have 5 elected officials who look nothing like a vast majority of that populace who says, you know what, we're good.
Mm.
That easy.
Yeah.
So, really just understanding where you are, like you individually are, in terms of privilege, in terms of understanding, like, yo, son, like, I can walk down the street and I don't have those type of fears. Mm-hmm. You know, I can, to me, what hurt me most about old boy dying was the fact that he was in a position where he called out to his mother in his last moments. I later found out his mom's been dead for almost 2 years.
Oh, wow.
I didn't know that.
So what that tells me is that in those last moments, the first person that ever took care of you, the one person that I know, my mom, Latuja Abram, I know you here. I know my mom will do whatever is necessary. And my mom calls me every morning the day after a Trayvon happens, Eric Garner happens, because she sees me.
Mm.
She sees me every time.
Dang.
That's what I'm concerned about, is that she has to live with that. And like, I didn't understand it growing up. Like as a teenager, it's just, you know, she's a single parent, and it was just me and her. But I never understood. I'm like, yo, why do you stay up until I come home? That don't make sense to me. Go to sleep. I'll be fine. I never understood why, even in college, she would do the same thing. If she knew I was going somewhere where it was going to be a large group of people or something like that, she stayed up until I texted her on the way home.
Wow.
Because that's a fear that she has to live with every day. And that as a parent, she can't do anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's crazy.
Yeah.
And if your mom, like I put on Facebook the other day, I said, you know, in terms of the situation, he called out to his mom in his last moments. My mom called me out of fear. Why did you talk to your mother today?
Right.
Mm.
Like, why did you talk to your mom?
Actually answer that, please. Have you guys spoken to your parents today or yesterday?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
What do you guys talk about?
She asked if I was okay.
Yeah.
Because of what's
That's
going
the
on.
only thing that she's been texting me about is how's everything going.
Okay.
Good.
Are you being smart? What are you up to? Are you safe?
Generally worried, like genuinely worried
Yes.
for your
Yeah.
life, right?
Very yes.
Yeah.
Now
very much
imagine
so.
your mom calling you about that every Saturday you wake up after going out Friday night. Every Sunday you wake up after going out Saturday night. waiting up every time. I mean, it's funny because I used to laugh. My curfew was 10:30 in high school. I'm grown. Good GPA.
Same. I had 10:30.
I had a bunch of offers, good student, wasn't doing no drugs. Like, I just wanted to hang out, man. And my curfew was that. Why? Because if I'm coming home at midnight, my mom's got to stay up till midnight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just something that, like, our parents go through all the they're genuinely worried for us. And I never got into that. I got a lot of little homies. I got a lot of little cousins, younger siblings, but they little kind of my age, but like nephews, nieces, and I feel the same way. Because here's my thing. I've gone through, let's start telling some testimonials straight up. I've gone through times in my life where I've done everything I was supposed to do, and I still get mistreated by authorities. Like, imagine y'all studying for a test, knowing everything, writing what you think. Well, no, writing the right answers and someone just say, wrong. When you know 1 + 1 is 2, you put 2 in there and it's wrong. Right? Where am I going with this? Okay, cool. My whole life, I mean, my mom was strict. I couldn't leave the house with a do-rag on. That's why I started wearing wave caps. Low-key, I wore wave caps because you could wear a wave cap under the hat and the tail didn't come out. We grew up in the early 2000s, man. We was wild with that shit. But I couldn't leave the house with a do-rag on. My parents didn't let me sag my shit. They didn't let me sag my pants at all. Matter of fact, my parents was crazy. People knew my parents because they was a crazy parents. Like, if you came to the crib sagging, like my dad grabbing grown man's pants, like, nah, brother, you gotta let me tighten that up for you, right? Couldn't sag my pants. I had to speak proper English when I was in the house, right? So, for example, like, damn, mom, I ain't doing that. Be like, you ain't a word. You aren't doing it. Stuff like that, right? The way we speak with our friends' school, I mean, they know it, but it's like we're not allowed to speak like that in our homes. Always taught to be respectful to the police, teachers. I mean, I got a little trouble, but at the end of the day, I never crossed the line, right? Get good grades so you can move to the suburbs someday, get a great job, and in my eyes, I'm eliminating myself from that. So here, cool. Now we're talking about times where all that, what I think that an upstanding citizen did, nothing illegal, not stealing, not doing anything illegal, and I'm still face down on the ground, like Mr. Floyd was a few days ago, for no reason. Why? Because I fit a description. Why? Because I'm 6'2", 255 pounds, and if you don't know me, I'm an angry looking dude. I'm a suspect. I'm scary. I'm intimidating, right? I remember one time I was walking home. I used to live in Northeast Minneapolis, 1315, 13th Street, Northeast Minneapolis. I was just walking home. I was at a gala, so I was in a suit, clean, right? Not threatening, 3-piece.
Looking
You know what
good.
I'm saying?
Yeah, looking great.
Y'all follow me on Instagram. You know what it is, right? Pocket square, all that. I think I had what them Charles Listen joints on?
Which one?
The ascots? Yeah.
Okay.
I had the ascot jump off.
Again,
So
can't say it enough. It's
Right.
looking
I ain't
good.
mad at you. I ain't mad at you.
right. So anyways, I'm walking to my house, which is about, the Uber driver dropped me off at the gas station, hungry, about to grab a piece of whatever. Stop at the gas station. The gas station like 2 blocks away from my house. And I'm walking. I kind of got to pee. Had a few to drink, but I wasn't drunk. At this point, I know myself. I stopped drinking at 12:30. It's probably like 2:05. I was like, oh, let me go in this bar. It was locked. Never kept going. Keep walking. All of a sudden, I hear sirens just pull up around the corner. I'm talking hit the curve hard, whatever. And I'm just like, oh, damn, that's crazy. Now, mind you, I'm thinking back to my training because every black kid has training at a young. You see sirens, you with friends, whatever it is, you stop moving first. You put your hands up. You become completely vulnerable. Even if it's not for you, just don't mistake, right? If you see a car, if you see sirens behind us and we're driving, pull over. Don't guess, oh, he's not coming from me, he comes from him. Right. That's the things we're taught as kids. So I didn't even think he was coming from me. I didn't do shit. I was a gala. I was raising money for breast cancer, right? And I pulled up, a dude pulled up, and I'm like, oh, snap, put my hands up thinking he's going to drive by. All right, cool, keep walking. Nah, man, I'm still up. The car's behind me. He's like, hey, freeze. I'm like, oh, shit, what's about to go on? Like, I don't know who he's looking for. I don't know. Maybe he think I'm somebody. So I'm like, hey, no, it's me. Like, I turn around like, yo, sir, it's me, whatever. He's like, hey, turn around, blah, 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 woo, this and that, just screaming. Put your fucking hands on the wall, XYZ, blah, 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 screaming. I'm like, oh, shit, okay. All right. And then 2 more cars come by. And you hear, like, the radio's like, hey, we found him. Come on, let's go, let's get it.
Oh, dang.
And so now I'm just in front of this, like, it's like a movie theater, restaurant, whatever. And there's 3, maybe 4 cars. I blacked out a little bit. It's like 3 or 4 cars behind me. It's like 4 or 5 cops. It's one off-duty cop who's just wearing some clothes, but he's got his badge on.
Mm-hmm.
And they cut. I mean, I was like, hey, man, I don't know what y'all looking for. Comes, cuss me, throws me as well. What the fuck you doing in the bar? I'm like, I wasn't in the bar. He's like, why were you trying to break in? I'm like, I wasn't trying to break in the bar. Which, again, like, I don't think they pull over the corner waiting for somebody to break into a bar. So I think what happened is they're looking for somebody, and in order to interrogate a random citizen, they found a reason to get me because I pulled something, whatever, and I fit the description. So that's what's going through my head. I'm like, I swear I didn't do it. I swear I didn't do it. And all of a sudden, he's like, yeah, shut up. We'll this, that, another one we see. I'm like, what's your ID? I'm like, yo, it's in my pocket. He's like, grab it. I'm like, sir, I'm not grabbing my ID. Like, you can grab it for me. I'm not reaching my pocket. I've seen this movie before. And then they just get crazy with it. I just need to ask you, like, I don't know what's going on. What are you looking for? But you guys have the wrong guy. This is my neighborhood. I live here. I'm a taxpayer. Can you guys please tell me what's going on? And they're just telling me all sorts of cuss words, telling me to shut the fuck up, X, Y, Z. Handcuffs on, dumb tight, lift me up. Throw me in the back of this car, and they just talking crazy, like wild outside. And I'm just saying, I'm telling you guys got the wrong guy. And here I am, got a little scratch on my face. My clothes are completely messed up. I'm in the back of the car, and I'm just thinking, I'm like, what the hell's going on? This is fucked up. Like, what is going on? So then all of a sudden, after like 20 minutes in the back of that car, I'm like, hey, you're free to go.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here like, what you mean I'm free to go? Like, I need some explanation, right? Because you
Gotta fill me in a little bit.
hey, I got a suit on.
But now you're doing too much.
B,
Passing them.
B, I got a degree. C, my record is clean. And when I say clean, I mean like Mr. Clean, squeaky clean. D, I wasn't doing nothing. You know what I mean? So y'all went through all this trouble to treat me like I was moving hella weight or something like that. Mm-hmm. I need an explanation.
Right.
That's going through my head. I definitely didn't say that. That's how you end up in jail.
Right.
So I'm sitting here. I'm like, hey, sir, I know you guys are just doing your job. Can you tell me what's going on? He's like, don't ask me no fucking questions. You're lucky we let you go. Take your ass home and go to bed. I'm like, sir, I just live in the neighborhood. I just want to know. He's like, just take your ass home. Boom. When I tell you I got home and I was the most distraught I'd ever been, it was fucking insane.
Yeah.
That all happened to a person which, and I'm going back to my mom's rules. Everything she told me, put your pants up, speak respectfully. Sir, yes, sir, no, sir, all of that. I don't even resemble what I think is gangster. I took off the Air Force Ones. I took off the do-rag. I took off the sagging pants. But I can't take this off. I can't take off the fact that I'm 6'2", 255 pounds. I can't take the fact that you guys are predisposed or either taught systematically that is what a criminal looks like.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and I probably had like 4 or 5 run-ins like that with the cops.
4 or 5?
Yeah, that's the last one. That was probably
And you're
like 2 years ago.
not even 30 yet.
Man, shit, I'll tell y'all about when I was 13. How much time you got?
Well, you're here to talk as long as you want, man.
So, it was my dad just turned with my big cousin
13, correct?
13. My dad was he had just turned 50. It's his 50th birthday party. We were supposed to go to the store and get some soda. I was with my big cousin. I was with my little brother. He's 2 years younger than me. And we went off their own thing, right? When we got the keys, all the family was at the crib, so they weren't worried about us. Like, man, let's go hang out.
Yeah,
like,
let's go.
Whatever. Like, our big cousin was driving. He playing loud music. We having a good time. And we took a detour to White Bear Lake, White Boy Lake, right? If you know about White Bear Lake, a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. We're familiar.
Affluent, okay?
Ooh, good word.
You like that?
That was good.
Yeah, no, I was reading before I came here. So, yeah.
It's in the A's. I understand how you hit that.
So,
Certainly wasn't vibrant, That's a V. Anyways, go ahead.
that is V. You're right. You're
Thank
right. So we just driving. And a lot of people don't know this story. A lot of people didn't know the last story except the people I lived with at the time. But we was just driving, and all of a sudden we went to McDonald's. We stopped. We went, hey man, we heard Prince lives out here. This is back when he was alive, obviously. Oh, let's go see the house. So we driving. All of a sudden there was a cop following us for like a minute, and we're like, yo, this is wild. Like, what does this dude want? And then my cousin was like, all right, let's just take a random right. Because that's what black people do when the cops behind you. You take a random right for no reason to make sure you're not getting followed.
Right.
Because for real though,
I'm dead serious.
that's for real. If a cop,
My
dude,
girlfriend can
if
tell you.
if a cop's in front of me, I slow down. I don't pass him, right? If a cop's behind me, I take a random exit on the highway. If he's still following me, I get back on the highway. If he's still following me, like, damn, it's too late. Yo ass, he coming for you, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So we took a random right, and all of a sudden we're in this area or kind of corner, and then whoop, whoop, turns on his lights. Like, oh shit, man, what'd you do? Like, we not paying the tabs? What's going on? I'm thinking something stupid.
Wait, were you driving and you were 13?
No. My cousin was driving. He was 21.
Got it.
So
Okay.
I'm in the passenger seat. My little brother, he's 11 years old. He's in the back eating. So I think actually we didn't get McDonald's. We got like KFC or something like. So my brother's just eating chicken, like whatever in the back seat. And my cousin was driving, and he's 21 years old. And I've said like 3 times, my bad, but I'm just trying to paint the scene for you guys.
Yeah,
so
sure.
we get there, cop, whoop, whoop. I'm like, oh snap, we're getting pulled over. And I'm thinking, all right, let's we just stopped, right? And then he got out the car so fast. And I've been pulled over a million times, but nobody gets out of the car that fast. I'm like, hey, turn your car off. And we're like, whoa, what's going on? And then another car comes. I'm like, oh shit. Another car comes through a backyard grass. I'm like, oh shit. Another car, state trooper, sheriff. It's like 9 might be a stretch. It's probably 7 cars behind us. And they pointing guns. Boom, pointing at us. Mind you, I'm 13. My brother's 11, my cousin's 21. Pointing guns like, oh, put your hands up where we can see him. And I'm sitting there like, what the hell? Like, dude, what do you got in this car? Like, tell me now. Because, like, I need to know. He's like, nothing, man. Just put your hands, blah, blah, blah. My cousin hands out. I remember this, like, vividly. Sticks his head out the window, like, hey, it's not that serious. He's like, put your fucking head in the window and I'll tell you if it's fucking serious or not. I was like, oh, shit. And, you know, it kind of blacked out after that, but I just remember, like, the cops slowly coming, undoing my seatbelt while my hands were up, whipping me out of the car, 13 years old, cuffing me, putting me against the hood of the car, taking my cousin out. It was real rough for him because I was still a kid, but it was rough for me than it should have. Took my cousin out. We're complying, by the way. Throwing him against the car. Actually, he's on the pavement. And then my little brother, like, they treat him the best because, like, he's 11, right? And he's eating, obviously harmless. Like, if anybody's a criminal to them, it's us. So he gets grabbed. They, like, knock his food out of his hand, and they grab him, and they just, like, you know, he was just kind of standing with a cop. Now, while this is happening, I'm on the ground. I'm on the hood. My cousin's on the ground. There's, like, 3 canines. Like, they have dogs. Like, bro, I felt like El Chapo. I'm 13 years old. Mm-hmm. Just driving in White Bear Lake.
Yeah.
I feel like El Chapo. I'm like, yo, what the hell is going on?
Dang.
So I get thrown in the back of the car. I'm crying like a little bitch. I mean, I'm bawling. My cousin's crying. And my little brother, he's absolutely bawling. And then the parents came and they were pissed. Hey, we shouldn't have been in White Bear Lake in the first place, right? Mm-hmm. But our parents came and they picked us up.
Well, that's a ridiculous statement, but yeah, right?
No, what I
know what you mean.
Yeah, what I mean is like we were supposed to go to the store to get some soda.
Yeah.
Right.
Why are you
Your
boys?
parent- yeah,
why are you in White Bear Lake? Right.
Gotcha.
So we're just thinking like, growing up, I was never afraid of police as much as I was afraid of my parents finding out I had run-ins with the police. So like, as messed up as that was, in the back of my head, I knew this would be. I was still young and naive, so I didn't think I was in real danger with the cops. I thought there was a misunderstanding, and there was a legitimate reason that they were doing this. So I'm just like, man, my mama gonna come here, she gonna beat my ass. Like, y'all better take me to jail, cause like whatever I'm going back home to, that's gonna be 30 times worse than the pen, right?
Yeah.
So they come and they screaming, and then they talking to the cops, and they finally uncuff my cousin, and they were like, hey man, sorry, we got a report from an off-duty officer that said you guys had a weapon in the car, and you were driving towards, I don't know what they were driving. They said we were driving towards, but we had a report that you had a weapon in the car. And as a kid, I was like, damn, no, sir, we didn't have no weapon. We sorry, we didn't mean it. And my parents are that way too, because that's how we are. Like we get mad, but at the same time, we'll never get mad to the cops. Like, we're thinking like, oh, you're so gracious for not taking these boys to jail for doing nothing, because you totally could.
Right.
So we get home and we're getting yelled at, we're getting screamed at for not being where we're supposed to, like this and that. You let his name's Yemi, you let your little cousins in danger. How dare you do that? Like blah blah blah, this and that. Like now they seen some things they don't need to see. Ooh, blah blah. I'm scarred for life, right? I had this traumatic, like I had guns and dogs pointed at me. I was in 8th grade, guns and dogs pointed at me, all because of a quote unquote mistake. Now here's my thing. I've seen a guy go into a church, shoot up a church, and get treated better than I got treated for allegedly, maybe, possibly, but not really, but we ain't got no evidence. Could be, but not kind of have a gun in the car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, man. And you're 13 years old.
13 years old.
Yeah. And I'm thinking to myself, like, how do you trust authority to that level anymore? That's 13. Like you haven't even developed as a man yet.
So at that age, because the way we were raised to stay out of the cops' way, right? Yeah. And just like don't mess with the police, whatever. I didn't really think that yet. I didn't have the F the police mentality till I started getting older. And I'm starting in high school. We're hanging out now, and every time we get together, some cops bust some stuff up. Like, hey, y'all, whatever. And like they buzzkills all the time. Or like you see them arresting your friends, you see them taking people to jail, you see them this, and that's when it start clicking. Like, I ain't do shit when I was 13.
Right.
That wasn't them making a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
They wouldn't have made a mistake like that with a white dude.
Right.
They wouldn't have made a mistake like that if I was in my old neighborhood taking a spin. It's because of some black guys in White Lake, driving around Lake, and someone called and said they had a gun.
Yeah.
So
Dog, we was in a nasty ass Nissan Altima. It was like 1987 Nissan Altima. I'm like,
that's deep. And it's, I mean, just to add to that, you know what I'm saying? I didn't have no interactions like that at 13.
mm-hmm.
Living in North Minneapolis, I personally, did I see it? Absolutely. I had a lot of positive interactions actually with police officers. Remember I was telling you that my family been in politics. My family's been involved in the community.
Right. You need more water, Ayo?
But the one thing that
I got it.
Okay.
yeah, let me get more water.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, the one thing that I would say is most interesting though is
Appreciate you.
the underlying police state that we were always a part of, but nobody ever wanted to recognize.
Say that one more time.
The underlying police state that we were living under, but nobody wanted to actually recognize. Right? What I mean by that is everywhere I went, there was police.
Mm.
It was normal to me. I never
Right.
felt a type of way because it's like, oh, it's the police. Oh,
Right.
it's the police. But like, you go to the park. I go to Firewell. Shout out to Firewell Park.
We used to bust you on football, by the way.
Man, listen, ain't nobody got no time for them type of lies. But like, shout out to Firewell. You know what I'm saying? We're just youngins playing on the playground. You know what I'm saying? We're youngins on the basketball court, on the top, the cement top. You know what I'm saying? Not even inside the building, cement top.
Triple rim.
Yeah, and sometimes you would have police officers that would come and they would just sit there. They didn't bother nobody.
Right.
Therefore, we weren't too concerned.
Mm-hmm.
But once again, it to me is the underlying police state that we're always used to. I go downtown, there's police officers. I go to the mall, right?
Especially in
We just
LA.
we call them security. We just don't call them police officers.
Right.
But almost every step of my life, whether good, bad, or in between, I've always been around a police officer. And notice I keep saying the word police officer, right? Because when you get outside of a certain demographic, they're not police officers no more. They're Andy, Ted, Christina, Trish, Brandon,
Right.
Aaron. Which is interesting because it's the folks who are living with those individuals that are the ones that have the audacity to tell me in North Minneapolis that it's all my fault.
Mm-hmm.
Because they don't see a police officer. They see a bowling partner. They see a clergyman. They see a cook.
A mechanic.
Yeah, somebody who makes some bomb-ass ribs.
Youth football coach.
Yeah.
Teacher. Whatever it is.
And you know
Neighbor.
why? Yeah, because I read something that said that in Minneapolis, only 2% of our force lives within the city limits.
Mm.
That means 98% of the people that are policing your area don't know you. And guess what that does? I tell you from my personal position as a lawyer, right? I'm in Eau Clare. I take cases in Eau Clare, but I also understand the people of Eau Clare. But sometimes I'll take cases, especially criminal ones, and CHIPS or Children in Need of Protective Services cases in other counties where I have zero contact. And sometimes I have to check myself because I'm like, damn, another meth case? What are they doing out there?
You start to generalize a little
You
bit.
start to generalize because you have no relationship with the people. So you're just a police officer.
And that's all the public workers. Because I think about that too. It's funny, when I was growing up, I was in the North St. Paul School District, and none of my teachers lived in North St. Paul. I always thought that was crazy. They all live in Woodbury. Okay, you don't want to live in the same place you teach. And these are also the teachers who told me at a young age that, you know, even though I got good grades, I had issues, behavioral issues. They told me I had ADD. They tried to send me to special ed, stuff like that, right? Thank God I had a mama that wasn't having that. But there was a lot of, I just remember, especially I had a lot of black kids for no reason. And looking back, I'm like, damn, that show is. It's a lot of parents are like, oh, you think
for no reason.
Not no reason at all. But I'm saying in the school, I'm like, he's not like, that's my boy Johnny. Like, he's not special at all. We was just whatever, having a combo. But whatever, go about my business. But then I get to Woodbury, and it's crazy because it's like Mrs. Von Ruden. That's my boy Josh's mom teaching home ec. I'm like, oh, you got kids in the, or like after, you know, whatever, Mr. Paul, like I go kick it with my boys after school. I'm like, damn, my woodshop teacher in the kitchen, like drinking a beer. Like that was wild to me, seeing police officers, teachers, public workers, people that worked in our communities, living in our communities.
Yeah.
Right.
Why don't we do that in these other areas that are quote unquote problematic? Because here's my thing. If I'm a dude from North Minneapolis and I'm a cop in Plymouth, I'm busting them parties a little differently, right? Coach Carter's a great movie because I love Coach Carter. That it's like the kids from Richmond, Virginia, and then it's like the Palo Alto kids or whatever. And they be like, man, we going to this white party, man. We going to the suburbs. We going to this, thinking what it is. And it's like funny because I lived in the suburbs. I lived in Woodbury at that time, and it wasn't that. But like they had this big mentality. So think about being a cop. Think like these kids are all just, life's great. They got all this money, woo, this and that. And this is me just putting it in reverse so y'all can see. If I'm a cop in the suburbs coming from the hood, I'm treating y'all different because I'm like, man, these kids ain't never had no run-ins with the law. These kids, their life is perfect. I'm going to ruin these kids' life. Or I'm going to be like, you know, they can get a drinking ticket. Or I'm going to start pulling teenagers over. Vice versa, you come from, you know, Scarysville, Minnesota, and now you all of a sudden a cop on the east side, right? You're a cop over south. You're a cop on the north side. You're a cop in Brooklyn Park. A little bit of trigger happy, right? Philando. A little bit of, anytime somebody gets loud with you, you get scared. You don't know what it is. And you might start relying on force right away or calling for backup. If you're in an area, period, that you're not comfortable with, you're not going to be able to make good judgments. My aunt was on the north side. We spend the weekends on the north side. I got family in Chicago. We spend a lot of time in West Chicago or South Chicago. And it wasn't my hood, so I wasn't super comfortable there. But like my family was always comfortable there. Vice versa, people come to St. Paul, visit me. Hey man, don't leave me in the car too long now. And it's like, man, you good, man. You're good here.
Yes.
And say I come visit my boy, like, hey man, let me lock my car. I'm like, can I park in the back? It's like, man, you good? It's like, you sure? It's just, people are naturally not comfortable in whether it's hoods or but just areas they're not from. And I think if you need to be living or have lived in the community you're serving. Period. No reason that Minneapolis cop should have been from Oakdale.
Yes.
Do you think that there's a, and fill me in if I'm wrong or not, but like, do you think that the amount of people living in Minneapolis, there's just a shortage? Is that why there's so many people that live outside of it, that out of Minneapolis? And if that's the case, if you're saying, oh, we need more cops and we don't have enough that actually live here, how would you get someone from outside in a suburb like Edina or somewhere out of there? How do you get them comfortable?
I don't have those answers, but what I will tell you is, let's take a step back to where we were saying before.
Yeah.
How many black kids are growing up to want to be police officers after growing up literally being afraid and hating the police?
Right.
That's the issue there.
Yeah.
That's the issue. It's
Yeah.
not the fact that, because if you, like, dude, there's full ride scholarships for black people to go to the police academy. They want black people so they can put them in neighborhoods. But the thing is, like, we're systematically disposed to not liking them, not wanting to be a part of them. And let's say, hey, it's a job. Ever remember when Rick Ross came out? Because he was a cop or whatever, and that was a big, like, damn, this
Now, he
big.
was a CO.
Rick Ross was a cop.
Yeah, that was big
He
news.
was a corrections officer.
And I was like, damn, we
Everybody considers that a cop because he had to snitch on somebody while they were
Exactly.
in jail.
Exactly. So like we as a community, we was ready to pull his G card for that.
Yeah.
So imagine that, just being a kid, maybe not being, a 4.0 student, but wanting to make some of your life and going to the police academy, getting a job, and now you're creating for your community, right? You bringing in a good income, you have a 9 to 5, you're able to raise a family, buy a home in your neighborhood. But the way you're doing it is by the one way that's just looked down on the community. You're going to get shamed away from doing that.
Yeah.
Even if it's your only choice, you're not going to be a cop.
Right.
I got a lot of respect for my black friends that is cops right now. I couldn't do it. Hell no.
I got you.
Hell no.
And and this is why, this is another thing that I need everybody to know. Blacks people are not a monolith.
Can you explain that?
Okay.
Mono is one.
Myth is.
With. I'm struggling now.
Yeah. So what that means is that we do not all think the same.
Sure.
We do not all act the same. We do not.
I
We
was
do
watching
not
myself
all-
on live. My bad.
We do not all want to eat or can't eat the same things, right? And because in his experience, he's telling you like, yo, nobody want to grow up and be no cop. You know what I'm saying? Like, I will say it's not just them being predisposed to early on some of the issues they have with police officers. I think that number one, if you want police officers to move into the community, give them tax incentives like you give every corporation that decides they want to come in here. Why, you know what I'm saying? If you really want them within the city of Minneapolis, and let's say they're a first-time home buyer, give them the first-time home buyer discount percentage, turn around, also give them something on top of that, same way we do for our military brethren and sisters. When they come back, and they're first-time home buyers, the military drop bread on their house for them. Do the same things.
Yeah.
I also think that it would be a lot easier for a lot of people of color, not just black people, but people of color, like generally, they can be part of the system, but you have to show them that there's something that they need to be part of. Because see, right now, what's happening?
Show them
is
they're welcome.
Not even about being welcome. You know what I'm saying? I like being careful with terms like that because like, I shouldn't have to feel welcome in something that's already mine. I pay taxes. If I want to become a police officer, that's my right. Now, the thing I'm saying is that we have to look at the fact that if Aaron Abram, as a black man in North Minneapolis who wants to become a police officer, who's seen heads roll for absolutely no reason, who understands the relationship that needs to be done in my community, but I'm looking at a force that spoils the good people. Why enter in? So it's not that I don't want to do it. It's that why enter in when I'm seeing that the same people. I mean, there was a lieutenant. I always get his name wrong, but there was a lieutenant a couple years ago who was removed from a pretty high up position because he began questioning some of the tactics of the Minneapolis police, you know what I'm saying, in terms of how they were interacting with certain folks. And you have people like Bob Kroll, look him up, Kroll, who is the Federation of Police president here. And dude has been long time accused of being a racist. Why would I want that person to represent me as a black man?
Right.
Matter of fact, if you look at his history, he, on every single time somebody has been shot by a police officer, Jamar Clark, he's out there. He's saying it wasn't the police's fault. They did absolutely nothing wrong. Da-da-da-da-da. Then you turn around and you have another shooting with Philando. He's out there. Guess what? No, that didn't happen. Da-da-da-da-da. That police officer was scared. We need to stop inflicting this type of craziness on our police officers because you're making us less safe. And then you have this guy named Mohammed Noor in North Minneapolis who with his partner responded to it was supposed to be a domestic call. Somebody comes up to their car, slaps the top of it. He gets scared. Bah! He lets one off. He kills a woman by the name of Justine DeMond. That's the first time you never heard Bob Kroll's voice. That's the first time. He had nothing to say. And it just so happened that was the first black officer
Wow.
that was being charged with the same thing. And he got 12 and a half years
Wow. Wow.
for what many deem an accident. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying he should not have been held accountable for her losing her life. Yes, you need to be held accountable. But you got 12 and a half years, no video. And it took you 4 days to lead an arrest with somebody who killed somebody on tape. I watched this man's life from his eyes.
Yeah. You're talking George Floyd.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
You can literally see the moment that man dies.
Yeah.
And it took you 4 days and a trip to Florida
right. Allowed him to get to Florida.
in order for that to happen. So
Dang.
this is not something that can be handled right now. I beyond the few things I was saying, I don't know how else to answer. I do have some good folks that I know that have worked for Minneapolis Police Department, and like one of my favorite people in the world. You know what I'm saying? Mama Delgado. You know what I'm saying? She's from over north, and she's one that'll tell you. She'll tell you both sides of the fence. If she feel like you being stupid, she gonna tell you you being stupid, and this was gonna happen. And so if you get into it with the police because you decided that you wanted to do blase, blase, blah, it is what it is. Now, on the other hand, she also holds police officer accountable, and people don't like that. They don't like to hear that. But she does what she needs to do, and that's why I have respect for her. I have respect for her profession. I also understand that I'm part of a fraternity, Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. We just had a brother of ours who went to the what we call the Omega chapter. Okay, he was one of the police officers. I believe it was in Illinois. He was a state trooper, and he was killed in the line of duty. Right, chasing somebody who was trying to literally take him and other people out. He laid his life down. I gotta respect that.
Yeah.
I don't, I'm the type of individual. I know a lot of people can say that they would act in a certain way, but I just know that I'm a principled person. There are certain people in my life that I would lay my life down for. Certain people is the key there.
Yeah.
He laid his life down for somebody he never knew. I gotta respect that.
Right.
But you just have to make sure that the system is changing along with the infusion of new people and ideas and ways in which you have community police interactions. It can't be this continued surface level
division almost.
like interaction. Did you know that it's part of the agreement between the union of police and everybody else that you can't talk to them for 3 days after police involved shooting?
At all?
3 days. You have to wait 3 days, and that's for anybody.
Why do you think
means
that?
if the
Why do you
FBI
think that
comes
is?
in, that means if anybody comes in, you gotta wait 3 days.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the conspiracy theorists.
Don't ask us why we think
Yeah,
that.
the conspiracy theorist in me is saying, "Yo, we need 3 days to get our story together."
Get the story
Sure,
straight.
yeah.
Get everybody
We
on
all
the same
need to-
page.
Right.
'Cause
Figure out what we
listen,
gonna tell them.
Now,
Got it.
one of the things as a criminal defense attorney that I read, the very first thing that I read is called a criminal complaint. The criminal complaint is what establishes the probable cause for the officers not only approaching the person, but also arresting the person. Right?
Got it.
So, on the 4th day in which this gentleman was finally arrested, guess what also came out that same day? The criminal complaint.
Right.
Now, what I tell my, at least, and I'm just talking about the state of Wisconsin. I'm only licensed in the state of Wisconsin. I call our criminal complaints police hearsay. Because it's literally what the officer said happened, blah, blah, blah. It hasn't actually been verified by anything. There's no video to go with it. There's no audio yet to go with it. Nothing. This is just the probable cause of what happened. What I read in the criminal complaint,
And this is released publicly
Yes.
on the 4th day. The public did not know why George Floyd was arrested.
and the criminal complaint I'm talking about is for the officer.
Right. Gotcha. The one he received.
Yes.
Yes.
So it comes out, and here's the thing. I have clients. I had one client who, this dude, it was the first time he had ever done anything, right? And they found, I believe it was like a 1-y of marijuana, like a literal 1-y, and they scraped it just to like get him in trouble,
Oh,
right?
damn. That's fucked.
But if you read that criminal complaint, bro was El Chapo. We followed him around the corner in which he stopped, 30 feet from the stop sign, and then when he sped up, he saw us. We know he saw us because we saw two eyes in the rearview mirror. Da-da-da. Like, this is how they set you up. Because guess what? The district attorney takes what they're saying, puts it into a criminal complaint, and forms the basis of prosecution. So we have to make you look bad. We have to make you look the worst ever.
Dang.
When I read the criminal complaint for the officer that killed George Floyd was the biggest softball that I've ever seen in my life. Period. They literally were given reasons within a criminal complaint for him as justification of what he did. How's that work? Well, you know he resisted. Well, you know there were some underlying medical conditions. Why do I care about that? You know what I care about? I care about the fact, was the individual pulled over or whatever for a justifiable reason? Okay. Once you did that, was everything you did up code? Why are you putting your knee in his neck? Is that necessary? I can tell you this. What I was really upset about is the fact that this man had his knee in the back of this man's neck, right? And he had his hands in his pockets. Either you have a spectacular balance, or that's the position you've been in a lot of times. We just caught it on tape this time. Let that marinate. His hands were in his pockets, like he chilling.
Yeah.
You mean to tell me that he's
This is
such
a
a threat?
routine thing that he's done.
Yeah.
When you put your hands in your pocket,
Bro, this
that
is like
means you're utmost casual.
Yeah. What threat is this person below you posing if your hands in your pockets? You can defend yourself with your hands in your pockets? This is also the third shooting involved incident of this very officer. He has 19
Wow.
infractions, all of which came back, no discipline. That's the reality. Is like somebody, when they say, oh, well, why don't you complain about the officer? Why don't you do this, that, and the other? 19 on one person, 3 years.
That's crazy.
So then who do you tell? Who do you run to?
Who police is the police, man?
And so we have to look at those type of things. And yes, I've let people know. I get that there is a national, as I've been told, shortage of police officers. When we look to like what happened with Amber Geiger in Texas, where she killed both them Jean. First thing she talking about, I was so tired. That's why that's why I drove into the wrong side. That's why I walked up to the wrong door. That was like, damn, this mat is interesting. I must have bought it some other time. Opens the door. That's weird. This house looks pretty rearranged. And then you see somebody, and then you let them go.
Dang.
Right? Overworked. Underpaid. Many hours. I get it, bro. It's also not my problem.
Right.
Like, that's for you and your department and the mayor and everybody else to come together and figure out how we can relieve those things. We have people all the time that like to talk about, I mean, let's go to the stats, man. I love stats. I mean, when you're talking about, Barack Obama and all these other Democrats and these liberals and everybody else, they have this war on police. Suicide is higher in police officers than officer-involved shootings.
Really? Wow.
Yes.
Dang.
Domestic abuse issues are higher among police officers than other professions. There's issues that are already there that we are having to deal with, because if I'm on my third double shift for the week, and you challenge me, yo, who are you talking to?
Yeah.
You're irritable.
Who are you talking to?
Yeah.
And we see it all the time. I mean, just the last little story for me, it was 2008. It's special because I just graduated from Morehouse College. Came back to Minnesota. Had got a group of people together to go downtown. Right? We went to a spot that at the time was called Axis Nightclub. Axis, you know what I'm saying? That was my joint.
That's a throwback.
Man, we all in there just
Rest in peace. Rest in
getting
peace.
money, getting money, like we was getting it. You know what I'm saying? We was celebrating your boy. Now I just graduated from college. We step outside. Now this also just happened to be the same weekend of Juneteenth. Now back in the day, like it makes me sad a lot looking at what Juneteenth has turned into.
They don't know what Juneteenth is, by the way. I guarantee it.
Do you know what
No, I
Juneteenth
don't.
is?
No.
Okay, so the essence or the background behind Juneteenth is it's meant to celebrate the actual first freeing of the slaves. So every year, different locations, they hold festivals where you can get resources. It be resource fairs, music, food, just celebration, unity. It's okay to be African American because unfortunately it's not okay to be black everywhere. But you can be black here. You can be authentically you here. And I used to love it because the community always used to come together so heavy, right? So it started off during the day on a Saturday, and then towards the night, everybody would head downtown. That's when downtown Minneapolis was buzzing. You know what I'm saying? I mean, not saying it's not now. I just haven't been there in a while. But back then, like that was our thing. So I step outside, and I'm with my group of friends, and it's like it has to be at least like 14 of us. You know what I'm saying? Just in different cars and everything like that.
It's a celebration.
Yeah. And we're moving, but it's packed on both sides of the street. And in the middle, it's like 4 police cars, 2 police vans, like the transport ones, and those big Clydesdales or how do you pronounce it?
Yeah,
Clydesdale.
Yeah, big horses.
You got it.
I never knew that the horses were that big until that day.
Yeah.
Dude, they're huge.
Like I never knew. Like I just thought horses. I mean, I went to Como Zoo. You know what I'm saying? Little joints for a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Like we wasn't really working.
Hey, stay out my neighborhood, dog.
Up there. So police officers come out, and there were some issues that had taken place like directly prior to us coming out of the club. We had nothing to do with it. They knew that, but something had taken place. So we're walking, and I have a police officer on a bike who says, you know what I'm saying, you need to keep moving. Now, I'll be honest with you. I had a little sippy sip. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was a celebration. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't driving.
You were 21. You
Yeah.
gotta apologize.
So,
You grown.
and I tell him, I'm like, all right, yeah. I was kind of flipped with him. It wasn't, yes, sir, on the way, sir. It was like, yeah, we got it. But we kept moving the same pace because keep in mind, we're still trying to get all of our people to group up so we can all walk together, get our cars together, get to where we need to be.
Mm-hmm.
He says to me again, I told you to fucking move.
Yeah.
Anybody who knows me knows I make that face automatically. Like, what? You know what I'm saying? Like, who you think you're talking to type situation.
Yeah.
He puts a can of mace in my face.
Oh, dang.
Right? Now, everybody's watching this. Like, this is just in the middle of the street. I'm like, okay. Now, I was being kind of a smart ass. I'm not going to lie to you. And I was like, listen. I've been an intern with Congressman Keith Ellison. I pay my taxes. And at the distance you have that way from my face, you would blind me. Get the can out of my face. It's unnecessary. He says, you don't tell me what the fuck to do. I tell you what to do. I said, all right, dude. I let it go. You know what I'm saying? Because people behind me is like, come on, Aaron, just, it ain't even worth that serious situation. It's not that serious. I'm like, all right, cool. So we start to walk again. All of a sudden, I see the police officer, he's on his bike again, goes into the middle of the street, and heads back the other direction. I'm like, cool, situation over. I'm walking. All of a sudden, an arm comes over my neck. I had no idea who it was, so I do what anybody would do. I duck, I turn, I push. Like, yo, what you doing? It turned out to be that police officer.
Wow.
Who then yelled, whoa, 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 which is translated to, this dude's out of control.
Yeah.
First thing I do is what I was always told. Yo, what's the deal? Like, what's the problem? You ran up behind me, but my hands are literally like this the whole time. You ran up behind me. Another officer runs from off the street. Heisman, what are you doing? Why are you arresting me? Why are you trying to arrest me? Second officer comes up. He tries to wrestle with me. The one who got pissed off because he got Heisman, and he flew past me. Now comes back, slams me dead in the back, to the ground.
Oh my gosh.
They dragged me by my neck and one of my arms into the street. I was everything. I was a nigger. I was a bitch. I was a pussy. Literally, I was all of these things. For what reason? My brother, Mark, he comes out. Same exact thing. He says, sir, what did my brother do? Please let me know what my brother did. Their response to him was to empty 2 cans of mace, the extendo clips, into his face. And then when both of them were emptied, they then took that big ass Clydesdale and they hit him with the ass to throw him away.
Oh my god.
And then they let him go. If he was that big of a threat, if he was doing that much to you, to where you would clear not 1, but 2 cans. He couldn't even, his shirt, he had to throw his shirt away. They couldn't ride in the car home.
Yeah.
Because it was so drenched that everybody in the car, their eyes started watering. He was technically blind for 2 days. He couldn't see. He couldn't do anything. They were afraid that there was actually a medical issue that took place.
Yeah. Dang.
All because I didn't listen. And I had that same fear he had. Matter of fact, my boy was like, who you want me to call? I gave him every name but my mom's.
Wow.
He still called my mom. I forgive you, DA.
Yeah.
But and my mom did what she does. She was at the spot downtown to put me in the drunk tank. That was justification.
Yeah.
When, he was drunk.
Right.
And you know why I was drunk? I was drunk because I challenged his authority. He told me what to do, and I said, no, you're not going to do that to me. I know my rights. You can't do that.
Right.
And that challenge turned into that situation.
Yeah.
And to
reducing all of it.
And to y'all, it sounds like, his mama didn't believe him. That's not the case, right? That's not the case at all. We were taught to get out the way.
Yeah.
We were taught that if you get in trouble with police, that's what you get because you shouldn't have been in that position, period. Right? So it's
back up.
Exactly. And on top of that, is his mama saying, like, even if he didn't do nothing, baby, I don't want to lose you, okay? So make sure you don't do that again. You're going to learn your lesson. That's going to be the last time you go out that late. That's the last time you do this. We have to barricade ourselves so much just to hopefully avoid the police.
Mm-hmm.
She reminds me of it to this day.
Yeah.
Y'all can leave Cowboy Jacks at 2:30, be on the street talking, woo, woo, woo.
Oh yeah.
Man,
Hooting and hollering.
try to stay outside of Black Club at the let out, man.
Yeah.
That's one thing I don't do. If I'm not outside of Black Club at 1:15, it's because I know the owners of the club and I know they gonna let me stay up in there till 2:15, 2:30 when everything clears out. You don't go outside at the let out because A, people be wilding, which that's not cops' fault at all. That's us too. People be wilding, and then B, that's when the cops they ready for some stuff to happen. They all think they all Brian Urlacher trying to tackle somebody because they hoping somebody jump off.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the other thing you have to realize is when I'm talking about policy and procedure and actually looking at what is going on inside the office, so unfortunately for my mom and them, but fortunately for me, I lived a pretty fantastic downtown life that involved me knowing security, knowing owners, even befriending some of the police officers. That's how I got in front of the line of Pizza Luce. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the night.
I'm gonna need that plug, by the way.
Yeah,
Man.
but
I'm
it's
gonna need
all
that
the way
plug.
down, you know what I'm saying? That was cuz it was like, all right, cool. You know who it is. Woo, woo. And one of the things that they told me was that they send newbies downtown Minneapolis on the weekends to prepare them.
I feel like that's the worst
So-
place to send them.
But listen
So-
to that. Listen, say that one more
So
time.
why are you going to send people who may just be fresh out, may not know? Because it's hard for me to really say that procedure in and of itself is everything that you need to do because you're also human, right? So there's ways you need to interact. There's body language that you need to know. There is terminology to that specific to that area or that group or whoever that you need to know in order for you to properly resolve whatever situation that is. If you have none of that input information, what do you think the output's gonna be?
Right.
Like, you could talk to, because I've seen it. I've seen a police officer try to come down and check the wrong person who just may have been, allegedly, the leader of some type of clique, or, the leader of a group of people who, as a group, like, that's not the dude you should have got smart with. Because his whole crew about to wild on you now.
Yeah.
And it happened. And you know what happened? Those older police officers who were down there, who knew better, watched it and told him, bring your ass.
Right.
They didn't fight none of them. You know why? Because they had the correct input information.
Mm-hmm.
They knew what was going on, but they gonna let you, you know what I'm saying? It's like training day. I'm gonna let you go out there, you know what I'm saying? Sniff it. Yep. Yep. I'm not saying Minneapolis Police Department is authorizing anybody to sniff cocaine. That was just a reference to the movie.
Yeah, that's Denzel Washington.
Yeah, it's a reference to the like, that's they're doing downtown. Not at all.
We're gonna get a different type of smoke.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, he had him experience things during that movie, because he's saying unless you have this information, you won't survive out here.
Yeah.
And that's important.
Yeah. And you guys have been taught information, and you've been taught these rules that if you act a certain way, that you'll be able to avoid it. And you guys gave 3 situations.
You're supposed to avoid it.
Right.
Yeah.
And you gave 3 situations where you're just operating as a normal person in a day, and even in the highest of moments, when you're graduating from college and when you're with your best friends, it can still happen. And you're right. When we started this podcast, we don't know.
And that's the frustration, bro.
Yeah.
Like, when you see people knocking shit down and setting stuff on fire and rioting, that's a frustration. You know, it's just we already know.
That's the end result. I want to let people know that that's the end result.
You know what I mean?
Like,
of nobody.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, when I was telling you about what happened on Plymouth Avenue in North Minneapolis in 1967, that was end result. That was an end result of them, you know what I'm saying, placing policies on the African American community specifically, which impacted their ability to live their life. It impacted their ability to buy a home. It impacted their ability to be employed. You know what I'm saying? Simply because of the race that you were. So the end result is like, yo, well, if I can't do nothing anyway, you about to hear me.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's what happens.
Can we talk a little bit more on these riots, and specifically the ones happening right now? You shared something
as an end result.
As an end
I
result.
will definitely talk about the rights, but what we won't do here is talk about the rights like they are a singular issue, because that's what I've been seeing a lot of, and it's a lot of misunderstanding. It's not a singular issue.
Right.
And then let's even take the riots. Even we can divide that into 2, 3, because the first night, I knew a lot of my people's out there. They was out there wilding.
Yeah.
Night 2, a little half and half. A few of y'all was out there. Now you guys particularly. Then I'm on CNN last night. First of all, curfew, National Guard, we all was home, right? We heard that. We wasn't out there. And I'm looking on TV. I'm like, dang, there's a lot of white people in South Minneapolis breaking stuff. It's a lot of people that aren't from the neighborhood breaking stuff. So I want to preface with that. But go ahead, continue with your question.
Yes, and that's exactly what I want to get into. And you shared something on social media saying something along the lines of, I understand your anger, but I don't understand the riots. And that was like a quote someone said, and your comment, air quotes, and your comment was that then you don't understand the anger.
This was early in the process, right? This was the first day when people, I think it was before the fires, but it was just dangerous over South, dangerous on Lake Street, dangerous over, what do you call it, 26 off Hiawatha, where I be getting to New York over there. What's that area called? What y'all call it? 26. What y'all call it?
You said where?
Hiawatha, 55.
East Lake.
You get off East Lake, but that's not Lake, but where that Cub Foods is, Target, whatever, that area, Midway, St. Paul, Sunray, St. Paul.
Midway. Do we already say Midway?
Yeah, Midway and Sunray, St. Paul. It's just one of them things where it's just like enough is enough. People are tired, man. And am I a destructor? Am I that? No, I'm not. I react in a little different way, but I'm not gonna be mad at my people if that's what they do. Because at the end of the day, like he said, and like a lot of people are saying, we tried marching, we tried taking a knee, we tried telling y'all, resulting in gaslighting.
Dude.
And now we just watched one of our brothers get killed for no reason. There's not even disputable. I know redneck racists were like, damn, that's crazy. I know people are super pro cop, like, yeah, let's lock that dude up.
This was the first time I saw some police officers that I know on my timeline say, you know what?
Yeah.
This is not what we do.
Not even backing them up.
Mm-hmm.
My best friend, one of my good friends I grew up with, owns the restaurant across the street. He released that footage to the New York Post. Because, again, like he was talking about before, he didn't want to get that to the authorities. Because if that goes to the authorities, we never seen him not resist. We're never seeing that video.
Laquan McDonald.
We are making sure, Rashad West, shout out to Rashad West, by the way, owner of Dragon Walk on 38th of Chicago, guys. Go support him. That's good brothers doing some good things. He made sure that he got on the phones with the Washington Post, the New York Times, all these publications so they could see it and get the video out there. And then he gets on TV, he's like, yeah, it's crazy. I didn't really see him resisting. So I went to the videos and he definitely wasn't. And this was before it got out. And then we saw the video like, what's the excuse now?
Yeah.
This is a reaction, man. It's not my reaction. What was my reaction? My reaction was getting on Instagram going crazy, on Twitter going crazy, on Facebook going crazy. My reaction was changing the way I spoke, changing the way I moved, changing my mentality. My reaction was not sleeping for 3 days. My reaction was anger. The first person to walk up to me was probably going to get cussed out. My reaction was the first time I even saw like an inch of injustice that I would have let slide before because I ain't got the time. I got the time today. That was my reaction, that kind of anger. Okay? Mm-hmm. So picture somebody else that's a little more, a little less apprehensive than I am. They gonna start busting out there.
Right.
And that's what happened. And that's why it's crazy to me. People were so quick to get away from the murder and start talking about the riots, man. Like the riots happened because of the murder. Let's fix that. Yes, I'm sad that our neighborhoods are destroyed. I'm sad stuff is getting burnt. I'm sad people are getting hurt. I'm sad we shooting at cops right now. Cops on the people. It's gruesome images. But those gruesome images are an end result. Because I guarantee if we do not fix this issue, it will be 10 times worse next time. Mm-hmm. Guarantee it. Because violence is the language of the unheard. Period. So if we continue unheard, we are going to create a ruckus until we are heard. Mm-hmm. So that's my emotion when I see people. Well, I don't know the riots. Whoa, all the shit. What's tearing it down? What's the logic behind it? There's no plan. There's no formation. Man, how you gonna have a plan when you just got slapped? We just got slapped. How am I supposed to? Well, let me go back to drawing board and write my blueprint and strategically talk about how we're gonna retaliate to this brother standing 2 inches away from me to just slap me. Now I'm gonna slap you the fuck back.
And that's the thing that I also was really right, and thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Because
thank you.
The thing that I'm seeing is we talk about riots as if he says a singular event, like it's not something that's boiling up. Like we're talking about George Floyd, right? But not even 3 weeks ago, I just ran 2.23 miles for a guy named Ahmaud Arbery. Mm-hmm. A week after that, I'm mourning the loss of a sister who the police, even with somebody already in custody, kicked in this woman's door, who responded. And the boyfriend is a no-knock raid. Her boyfriend's in the bedroom with her. He hears his door get kicked in. He sees some lights. He sees some guns. So what does he do? He starts busting toward the front door. Turned out it was police officers, and not intruders as he immediately thought. Because what else do you think when somebody's kicking your door in, and you haven't done anything like to warrant said activity? So he shoots back. Police shoot back at him. Kill that woman. And then they charged him with attempted murder of the police officers. Made him sit in jail for almost 3 weeks. That was just a week after Ahmaud Arbery. We're still reeling off the fact that we have children in the city of Detroit that a young lady was sleeping on her grandmother's couch. They put a bullet through the wall, through her head. Nobody held accountable. We're talking about children that there was an instance, I believe it was in Ohio. I believe I would have to look this up. Police kicked in the door and threw a flashbang into the front room. That flashbang just so happened to land inside of one of the little baby like little things.
Oh yeah, yeah.
A flashbang went off and a baby was in there.
Oh my god.
Nobody was held accountable. We're talking about somebody like Sean Bell. Rest in peace to Sean Bell. His daughter just graduated with the class of 2020. Sean Bell was killed by the New York Police Department as he was going to his wedding in a limo. Nobody was held accountable. When we're talking about, we're still reeling over Tamir Rice, 13-year-old child. I don't care how you think he may look as an adult or not. It's a 13-year-old child. You were told, oh, well, you're over here playing with a fake gun, so it's your fault. It's a child. 13 seconds, if that. From the moment they exited their vehicle to the moment that child died, no one was held accountable. Let's talk about Jamal Crawford. Let's talk about an individual who was in Ohio, an open carry state, in a Walmart. Took one of the little BB guns out of the box. Now, a report came in allegedly that he was pointing it at people and doing all of these things. None of that was true. This white woman lied on him and got that man murdered as soon as the police walked in there. Nobody was held accountable. This isn't new. This isn't singular. These are, and I can keep going with these names because my mom calls me whenever it happens. Because she don't want the next hashtag to be justice for Aaron. And that's the reality she has to live with. And we're just talking about some similar cases. But I mean, even when you're looking at the Trayvon Martin cases, man. Oh, well, he was the aggressor. I don't care that he was the aggressor, to be frank with you. Because I was being followed. It's at night. I don't know who you are. You approach me with a weapon. Mm-hmm. My first thing is self-preservation is the number one law.
Period.
So yeah, you come out with a pistol. I'm gonna try to do what I can to fight for my life because as far as I'm concerned, that's the only reason you're here. That's what happened to Ahmaud Arbery. Oh, well, he attacked the person with the shotgun. Yes, because you stopped me and you hopped out with a shotgun, bro. For no reason.
Yeah.
You think I'm gonna wait for you to let one off? No. That's the everyday that people are seeing. They say, oh, well, that's just the media. They're trying to break up America. They're trying to da-da-da-da-da. And, like, there is some truth to that.
There is.
100%.
You know what I'm saying? There's truth to that.
We're living through it right now with the riots, right? They'll tell you that Black Lives Matter is just tearing parts off Minneapolis, which is not true at all.
And then they don't report on the things that we're seeing that I can tell you. When I was a community organizer, I was over with Jamar Clark. There was some individuals that infiltrated the peaceful protest that we were having. It was me and a few other individuals, and there was a white guy showed up. You know what I'm saying? It was not abnormal. There was other, Caucasian people that were there as well. However, this individual was by himself and walked up on our group. We didn't say anything. Like, we're not going to push you off. Because it's like, okay, cool, whatever. Then he starts talking about, you know what I'm saying? I'm about to set it off. He talked about shooting police. And my first question is, bro, who are you? Who you with? That don't matter. Yes, it does matter. Who you with? What are you talking about? He showed us a Molotov cocktail, bro. And when that happened, that's when the whole group was like, yo, you got to move around. And we chased him a block away, right? He gets into a vehicle that had two people that were already sitting in the front of it. It was an unmarked police vehicle. I saw it with my own two eyes. Dang. The individual that allegedly, I mean, his identification requires more investigation in my opinion, but the individual that allegedly started the AutoZone calamity. Went through there with the hammer, busting stuff up. He was walking by himself. All black.
Let's talk about the police.
Umbrella.
Let's talk about the police department. If you see, a lot of my people was down there. They said that, yeah, I mean, it was outside the police department. Yeah, people was throwing rocks. But it wasn't until a white person jumped on the fence, brought it down. Because here, we don't play with the cops. Like I said, we're not going to be the first ones to do anything like that. It wasn't until somebody grabbed the fence, took it down, ran up in the door, whatever war chant they had, that's when everybody started to follow.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Right.
So that's, I mean, that's the little piece. And obviously, I wish this was like, I mean, y'all getting big. I wish it was national, because this is shit nobody's hearing.
Mm-hmm.
This is shit nobody's seeing. It's like, especially when, when we watch CNN, it's like, I don't know nobody out there. Night one, that's my boy Huey. What's up, boy? Okay, I see you. Oh shit, that's TJ. Okay. Night three, it's like, who are these people? Nobody's from South Minneapolis. Nobody is from Midway St. Paul. Nobody is from the East Side. These are people that, again, don't ask conspiracy brother in me, but these are people from out of town that are just anarchists. These are people sent from whatever to quickly destroy this neighborhood because, hey, gentrification is a thing and there's a lot of property that's going to drop in value and who's going to buy that stuff, right? We always trying to do that to University. We always trying to do that to South Minneapolis. Y'all live here. This is uptown. Yeah, we couldn't play around here 15 years ago when I was a kid, okay? Lake Street, cool place for y'all, right? Intercultural, right? We didn't mess around on Lake Street. You didn't go kicking on Lake Street. Mm-hmm. North Side, there's white people in the North Side. It was not white people when I was on the North Side when I was growing up. It's white people living there. Northeast Minneapolis, it's condos up everywhere. Mm-hmm. We're talking about St. Louis Park. That was just a regular neighborhood. Now it's like people making $300,000 a year, first starter homes living out there. You know? So there's just a lot of things in my head. I'm just like, yo, this just don't add up. Yes, we are not ridiculously organized at the moment, but we also wouldn't run up in our own shops. We also wouldn't run up in our own neighborhoods. We also wouldn't go for 3 nuts. We also, I mean, as gangster as it is, I don't think we got it in us to burn down a police station.
Can I just give one quick story about preparation? So, there have been people who have been looking, right? One of the stories that I received directly was we entered the store and we went into the back where the safe was. So by the time we got to the back, there was some white guys there. There's 3 white guys with drills. Who the f is bringing drills to a riot? That's preparation, man.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty determined for sure.
Yeah, like you knew what was going down.
They was ready for it.
You knew what it was, and I hate to keep saying white. That's just the report that I'm receiving is that some of these folks who are provoking the larger action have been people who are not from the community,
right,
and who are coming in and burning up police stations, and tearing up the Cub foods, and you know what I'm saying. Yes, there are people, you know what I'm saying, of all demographics and backgrounds who, shit, if the club is already open, I need some milk.
Which is another socioeconomic problem that we won't talk about today. But again, yes, people are stealing because people are in need. But
yeah, it's like, I don't have this at the house, so I'll have it now. You know what I'm saying? Oh, well, what is this brand new 70-inch television going to do for you? Nothing. But if you sell it, so it's important to know all of the sides that are here and all of the things that are happening in real time, because at that point you can kind of pay attention to what the government's strategy is. Like that, for example, there's people who are planted, in my opinion, and then there's people who are just able, right? Like I was told that there was instances of people running into Foot Locker over north, and the police were standing there. They didn't stop nobody, like, at all. All they did was try to drive their car up real fast. And once they did that, after a significant amount of stuff had been taken, then people just dispersed. And then they just went and boarded it back up.
Yeah. What the hell?
There was not even an attempt at get away from the building. Get away from the building. There was nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the reality, man.
And I think a great point that you continue to make is all of that are not from the community. It goes back to that perspective aspect. Like, an officer that's not from the community is not going to feel comfortable here. And you bring in someone that's not, you bring in the crowd that's anarchists, if you will, not from the community. Now they are going to do whatever they don't see what's actually happening.
That's
here.
just a building to them.
Yeah. They don't feel the community.
Opportunists is
Yeah.
what they are.
Yeah, and what makes it even to your point, which I thank you for making that, is that if we were in their neighborhood, even if it was a bowling alley, you gonna let them run in your bowling alley? I think you would, because you have a personal relationship with that. That's not my Foot Locker. I don't shop at Foot Locker. They can have it. But if this DSW goes up in flames, now we got some problems.
Heaven forbid.
Yeah, so when they start tearing up that DSW,
This is an
all
outrage.
all of a sudden it's like, hold on, guys.
Not the Bergenstocks.
Strap up.
Anything but the Bergenstocks.
Yeah, strap up. It's time. Like, we're gonna stand here for this because that's part of your experience. You know what I'm saying? That's part of who you are.
Yeah.
And so you're not going to just willingly let somebody come into your space and take from your community. You're gonna safeguard that.
Yeah.
And the showing of you just watching somebody do something, letting them run up in there and take whatever it is and be like, all right, then that tells me you don't live here.
Yeah.
It tells me exactly that.
Yeah.
I cried when I drove by Midway, because I'm not from that part of St. Paul, but my church was there, so I grew up there. You know, we got to church early. We go across the street, maybe hit McDonald's, Dollar Menu, go to New York, a Foot Locker, check out what they had there. Actually, no, it was a DMV at the time, but you know, little corner stores, whatever. Go buy some snacks, go back to church. So I got a lot of memories there, and it was a sad day for me when they started building the light rail back my freshman year in college, because university was just plugged up. You couldn't even drive there. Earth's where we get our, you know, do-rag, hair supply, weave, all that stuff. Hard to get up in there. Okay. Now the light rail's there, cool. University back. Now we got a train station. It's awesome. University never looked the same, man. All the black businesses couldn't make it through them 3-4 years. You couldn't drive through. A few Asian businesses made it. Now we're starting to see nicer buildings, which is good, but on top of these nicer buildings for businesses, there's condos up there that folks that look like y'all are living in. Which, again, I'm not against that. And now we're starting to see Starbuckses, Whole Foods. This ain't the same University Avenue I grew up going to. This ain't the same Frogtown is what we call it, but I mean it's Rondo, right? So that was a little sad for me back in 2014 when I was just graduating college. So now we fast forward now, they built the stadium there.
Yeah, Allianz Field.
Like, damn, it's about to be nothing but artist lofts and coffee shops here pretty soon. And now the little bit we had left, you know, Midway Bowl, Foot Locker, a few of them Asian restaurants, Walmart, like just the stuff that was there is burnt down. And I just looked at it, I'm like, dude, 10 years ago, I was literally standing right there. 10 years ago, this wasn't a condoplex, an apartment building. 10 years ago, this was, you know, this is where you see a few, you know, drunkies at Big Top Liquors chilling. You see, you know, people playing in the street. I don't recognize this place between the fires and the gentrification. And I had a moment where, like, I can only imagine what y'all feel like seeing Northside and Southside burn down on TV. I lost it, man. Like, I truly lost it. I'm like, this shit is gone. And I know what's happening next. Because if they do put a lot of money in the building back, they're not going to let us live there.
No,
They damn sure ain't going to let us live there.
outprice everybody who's already part of the community.
Raise them
That's how
property taxes.
gentrification works. You can't afford to rent,
Right.
and you don't own. So what they do is, in order to justify asking you to pay $1,200 a month, they add features which they believe would be attractive to you, and that doesn't always show any type of support for who's already there, right?
It's all about the people that they want to come in.
Yeah, I mean, a prime example for me, not even in Minneapolis, but actually, there's a historically black college and university in Washington, D.C. by the name of Howard University.
HU. My
HU.
bad. I got people from there.
I got you. And it was like last year, it became a big deal because HU always liked to at least remain part of the community. It had always been You know, and you see this with a lot of HBCUs. Most HBCUs are in impoverished and or marginalized communities. All of them.
Period.
Right? So Howard they allow people to come on their campus. You know what I'm saying? Let them walk across, you know, the grass, walk your dog, or whatever.
I remember this. This is all over Twitter.
And this dude came in and was letting his dog shit on the grass.
Think about the upper quad of St. Thomas.
Yeah.
That's like Howard had, what do they call it, quad or the yard? They call it the yard at Howard. That's just like where the students come out, dorm, classroom, stage, whatever. Yeah. We congregate between classes, us, right? This is our campus. Even though there's no gates, like this is our area. So continue.
Yeah. So the students are like, excuse me, clean that up type situation. And he got smart with them and told them, you can't tell me what to do. They were like, all right, then get off the property. He said, this is our community. This is not your property. And one of the girls said, you just got here. We've been here. Mm. And that became a big thing. Because they were saying, like,
enormous.
Just because you're gentrifying an area, folks take ownership in an area that wasn't really theirs, even though the reason you even moved there is because of the reputation it would give you.
Facts.
It gives you a reputation of being diverse. It gives you the reputation of being cultured. It gives you the reputation of being able to reside in an area that all of your folk who way out here, who only are watching BET, who only are watching what the evening news has to say about allegedly who was committing crimes, that are only watching movies on AMC and other spots with just watching Training Day or any other movie from the 90s, Boys in the Hood, you know what I'm saying, Menace to Society, anything of that nature. And they're saying, you are something special. I could never. And it happens. My mother now stays closer to downtown, Emerson, and they actually had a project where they were trying to get more people to buy into this neighborhood. It's right across the street from Lucy Lane. Right? And literally from my bedroom, I could literally see like the whole downtown skyline. Like I could walk downtown in not even 10 minutes. It's been a key area that they've been trying to take over for years. Which is why they tried to have this ownership initiative in that specific area so that developers just couldn't come in and, you know, buy it all up. Now, my mother's neighbors were from, I believe, Brainerd. Or somewhere way out.
Yeah, way up north.
Yeah. And the very first little homeowners association meeting that they had, the first thing that they said was, I don't understand why you moved us over here with so much poverty. You didn't research North Minneapolis before you showed up. And then they try to start instituting things within the homeowners association to make them comfortable.
Right.
In our neighborhoods.
Yeah. And I'm like, bro, but once again, it makes you look diverse. It makes you look cool. You know what I'm saying? It shows that you're more worldly than some other people. You know, but at the same time, if you actually live in that area, you will see, in a lot of respects, it's become something that's no different than where you came from.
So what are you doing?
Inner city suburb. And mind you, I have family in the DMV, right? So I remember driving by Howard as a kid. Because every black kid in America wants to go to college, dreams of going to an HBCU at some point. It's whether you actually go or not. So I visited Howard as a kid. That was a drive-by tour. You don't get out the car 15 years ago to go see Howard. A lot of crack, right? A lot of crime.
They had some issues around there.
And now here we are having the same issue at that school 15, 20 years later because somebody was walking their terrier on campus. You don't walk dogs at Howard 15 years ago. So again, that's our frustration. Because now this we've been there, nobody wanted before. People are coming in and trying to tell us how to be, trying to tell us what to do, trying to tell us how it's gonna go.
Got it.
By 2040.
And then we go, and then we go to the suburbs. I'm sorry, and then we go to the suburbs, and we not wanted there either. We go to the suburbs. I remember we moved to Oakdale. We moved to Oakdale from the first time we moved to Washington County. Washington County, black flag. You in Washington County, you doing your thing, right? So we moved to Oakdale. And my mom tells me the story now. I was a kid, so I didn't really know. But he's like, there was a police officer outside of our house every night for like the first few weeks we was there. The first,
Where you guys live?
Oh,
Is
Eau
that what
Clare.
We live in Eau Clare, Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
And when we first moved down the street, there
Oh,
was
yeah.
a police officer, and it's a dead-end street every day.
just taking a lap, seeing what's going, making sure we ain't no drug dealers, whatever.
Just to reiterate what she said so everyone can hear.
Okay.
She was in Aaron and his girlfriend, is correct?
Jessica, yeah.
Jessica live in Eau Clare in similar situation. Yeah. Cop outside.
So
yeah.
I didn't think much of it. I'm just like, like he said, like there was always cops around. So I didn't think much of it. I'm like, it's just a cop. And my mom was like, yeah, see, let me tell y'all boys something. She told me later on that there was a cop outside. I'm like, yeah, I remember that, but what was going on? Like, I didn't think, because it was a white neighborhood, right?
Yeah.
So, same thing when we happened to move to Woodbury. Same thing now, I'm hip to it. I'm like, what this dude doing? We not doing nothing, man. We were the first house. We built our house. We were the first house in that neighborhood. So there was nobody there. There's no mistake what could have been going on. Ain't no neighbors out there. It's just us, like in corn, right? So unless you're trying to prosecute the corn, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Might have been some bad corn. Who knows, right? But why is this cop just outside the house? Because we're in the suburbs. We're not wanted. We're not supposed to be there.
Right.
Plot twist. A year later, there was a meth house next door to us, and they got busted. Oh, y'all was at the wrong house the whole time.
Yeah.
Wow. Don't you feel dumb?
And that's and for anybody that's watching, I hope you are confused. I hope you feel as if we're rambling. And the reason I hope you feel that way is because I want you to understand what sometimes it can be like in my mind. What we're telling you right now is that this riot, this issue with George Floyd, or whoever else, maybe the next hashtag or who was the previous hashtag, are all separate issues that combined into one thing, and that's what you're seeing right now. Yeah, that happened at Howard University in D.C., but that don't mean I don't understand how gentrification is taking place right here in Minneapolis.
Mm.
Yeah, Tamir Rice happened in Florida, but Aaron Abram, who when me and my girlfriend lived in Madison, I had on a shirt that literally said "Black Men Run." It's the healthy brotherhood. I had on these black shorts. I had on my headphones, which were clearly visible, all white in front of me. I had on running shoes. I don't even like running shoes. I thought regular tennis shoes was running shoes. Until this point. Police followed me the first 3 days.
Damn.
And they told me it was because some of the locals made a phone call about suspicious activity.
It's always some local made a phone call for some suspicious
Yeah.
activity, ain't it? It's
Yeah.
always that. It's
So
a
it's
crazy
like-
story. I love that
exactly.
song. I hear it all the time.
There it is. So it's like, yeah, that happened to Trayvon, but I can relate to it too.
Right.
I don't know who Oscar Grant is, who got shot in the back at the train station. It's a nice little movie if y'all haven't seen it. Michael B. Jordan,
Which one?
Yeah.
Fruitville Station. I actually went to visit Fruitville Station. That's a sobering experience. I don't know him, but I know who Jamar Clark is, and it happened right here in Minneapolis.
Right.
Like, all of these things that we're talking about are things that people say, well, that happened here and there and there and there. But if I can relate all of those things to something that's happening around me, how do I not feel as if I'm at war with somebody that I can't fight right now? Because I don't understand what's the best tool to do it.
Yes.
Not to mention it's happening over and over and over
Yeah.
and over. Personal experience, not personal
Habitual.
experience.
Pockets.
Yeah.
Pockets. That's the only way you get to capitalism. The only way you get through the capitalist is through their pockets. People don't understand. The only time in the entire history of African Americans being here that we have ever collectively been able to successfully put pressure on the government was to get civil rights. Here's how. It's because it was the only time that as African Americans we gave America a dichotomy. Notice America loves to have one versus the other. It's red versus blue. It's good versus bad. It's BLM versus the cops. Like, it always has to be one or the other. But see, Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X were part of were two heads on the same coin. And they didn't understand that while Martin is sitting here talking to the president and they're saying, oh, well, Martin, I know you want those pesky civil rights. Unfortunately, we're looking at pushing it back another year. Legislature still isn't pretty comfortable with that yet. But we really do appreciate that whole nonviolence thing. And then you have Malcolm, who wasn't even necessarily teaching violence. Like, if you actually listen to what he's saying, he said, I'm touching you back. He said that I'm not going to let you kill my son and my daughter and my wife, and you expect me to shake your hand at the end of it. Like, he's not teaching violence. He's teaching how to move forward with self-defense. You know what he also did? He also ensured at the same time that Martin was meeting with the president that people from his following were laying their bodies down on tarmacs so planes couldn't take off, on train tracks so trains couldn't move. It hit their pockets because he stopped all modes of transportation. You couldn't ship anything.
Made them uncomfortable. Stop traffic.
Stopping traffic. So then the question became, who you want to deal with?
Right.
Which side you want to deal with?
Right.
You want to deal with Martin or you want to deal with Malcolm? The same question is being posed today. Which side do you want to deal with? You want to deal with Kaepernick? Or you want to deal with these rioters?
Because Cap sound kind of good right now, don't he? He sound pretty good right now.
Taking a knee is so bad, you know? It's like,
exactly. So, okay, I'm going to listen to what you have to say because I know what the alternative can be now.
Yeah.
And that's the dichotomy that's finally being presented. My friend asked me the other day, why is it that you truly believe that the police treated the folks in Michigan and other states where they were fully armed? They went to the Capitol because they wanted to stop all the stay-at-home orders and reopen the economy. And, I mean, once again, it's the conspiracy theorist in me, but I said, if you want me to be frank, the white people will shoot back. Yeah. That's really the difference. I said, and we know this because there was a whole standoff in Oregon where they killed officers. And then those folks that led it were released from prison into a private jet by our very own vice president. Jeez. Facts. Look that up.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
They'll shoot back because they understand that, they're going to use this against us. But how many times have you seen all of these peaceful protests where they're shooting people with rubber bullets in their head? That somebody told me, bro, that they were literally standing on top of buildings, pointing, laughing, and then busting people in the head with the rubber bullets.
That was Houston. Oh, no, that was Atlanta. That was Atlanta,
they
right?
did that here, too.
They did that here?
They did that here.
Dang.
That's part of the reason the 3rd precinct's gone.
Right.
Dang.
So it's like when you are looking at that, it's hard for me to understand how you don't get it. Like how it can still be so foreign. This is a reality, and this is what people are going to. What side do you want to deal with? And they would much rather deal with us in that way because when you're shooting people with these rubber bullets and you're knocking people over with tear gas and you're able to push people and ram people back and they just keep coming back, and the worst that they're saying is hands up, don't shoot, hands up, don't shoot, and you keep on bringing these type of divisive and violent tactics to them and they never do anything back. I don't have to worry about your uprising. But I am worried about the people that identify with old boy Bundy who shot back at all of these folks.
Right.
That's what I'm concerned about.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think what's really cool about like this whole conversation is your guys' innate ability to just bring up this historical like every single time.
That's our people dying, man. That's what it is.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that. The funny thing is, like, a lot of y'all know we code switch a lot in the black community, right? We're not going to be successful human beings if we don't code switch. What is code switching? That is when y'all see me at St. Thomas and I'm able to kick it with the white boys, drink beer, do keg stands, whatever, just talk about, stuff, have a good time. That's not the same Ayo that was growing up. That's not the same Ayo you'll see at church on Sunday with his people. That's not the same Ayo you'll see at Cream on Saturday night, 2012 with his homies, right? Mm-hmm. I'm a different person in every situation. Mm-hmm. So I'm not going to bring up this conversation with you guys because of the fear of being gaslit, right? I don't want to make y'all uncomfortable, and I just want to fit in, and I just want to do what I'm supposed to do. Because we want to be successful in this world, we're almost hard to not stick out. We're almost taught to be a part of the group. So when a shooting happens and we are fucking traumatized, our parents are calling us. We're in bed staring at the ceiling for hours like, damn, it could have been me. I'm thinking about when I got arrested, XYZ. You guys are like, wow, this is crazy happening on the news. Go to sleep, go to work next day. We're thinking about this at work all day. We are thinking about this at the water cooler. We are thinking about this for weeks. So on top of the lives you guys are living, where you're going out, going to school, getting your education, first house call, all that stuff, which is already a tough thing to do. Imagine having that pressure on your shoulders that you're not speaking about, to y'all at least. We talking about it. We having this convo.
And then you got to think about the double down, because like in times where I'm like, okay, I've talked it out with my folk. You know what I'm talking about? I got a different perspective. I have friends. I have real, true allies. Real, true allies. White brothers, Hispanic brothers, all over the place who see some of this stuff, and they want to be there for me. And they call me, and they text, and they ask me how I feel about it. And on the surface, that's fantastic. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Always that, by the way. It's always,
Yeah.
hey, thanks, appreciate it. I'm fine.
Yeah.
I'm be good.
But it's like if I've spent the last 20 hours thinking about that, and these are the only 4 free hours that I have, do I want to spend that 4 hours educating you on something that I've already been dealing with for the last 20 hours? I just didn't tell you. It just didn't matter. So I'm not saying stop asking. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just also letting people know that sometimes, he said, they texted me, I haven't even responded yet. That's real. I do that. I need to be in a mental place and have the capacity in order to educate, because I get tired of saying the same thing in different groups.
And bringing the same passion to make it can be conveyed in a certain
Compelling.
way. I can tell you, like, well, you know, I'm this or that, but like the way we're talking to you now, the reason we came on this show is so we could say it one time, because this is exhausting, exerting this much passion, this much energy to the subject that I'm already thinking about all day. I already can't sleep. I can't.
Yeah. And then you got to think about just, even nationwide. I would say that the only thing that's really interesting, like the only thing that's collective about black people is, to people outside the black community, is black people. Like everything else is individualized. Like when you hear in hip hop, right? You have, I like Lil Wayne. Well, F Lil Wayne, I like Jeezy. Or I like this person, I like that. You individualize it. When it comes to hairstyles, right? You'll have black women specifically who have been doing things with their hair that they've been called ghetto for, they've been called ugly for, and all of this. And then Kim Kardashian does it one day, and they say, where did this brand new beautiful style come from?
I love those boxer braids. They're amazing.
Yeah, like
Nah, them cornrows,
yeah,
right?
all of that is once again individualized, but only when it comes to violence of black people do they see everybody as the same type of threat. Because I can tell you that this was 2016, 2017. I'm at the University of Wisconsin, Oshkosh, right? I'm walking around campus. Like, everybody knows that we have a significant number of our students of color who are all from Milwaukee. That's one of their primary diversity grounds is. Milwaukee went up because a police officer had killed somebody out there. They determined in that community that it was unjustified, and they responded accordingly. Now, they also had an individual who was a pretty big asshole by the name of Sheriff Clark, who was an African American, but in no way, shape, or form acted like it. No way, shape, or form.
Uncle Ruckus.
Yeah, all day. And what was interesting to me is everybody knows Aaron Abram is from Minneapolis, North Minneapolis, like specifically. I always tell people that. But the next day that I came back to work after Milwaukee went up, right? They're burning stuff. You know what I'm saying? They're throwing rocks at police officers, things like that. There was this eerie quiet whenever I was walking around, even administrators. Like, it was eerie. I'm like, okay. And they came out later that they were like, yo, we didn't know how to talk to you about that situation. What the hell you need to talk to me about it in the first place? I'm not from Milwaukee. Am I concerned about it? Of course. But you were afraid that I was going to spaz out on you, and I have no real direct connection to Milwaukee outside the students that you provided to me.
Right.
That's the only time. Another reason. You ever heard this? What about Chicago? They don't care where you could be.
What about black on black crime?
Yeah, you can be in Idaho.
Y'all killing each other more than the
Yeah.
cops is killing y'all.
Exactly. You could be in Idaho, get in a fight, police officer shoot you dead, and when they march in Idaho, the first thing they're gonna ask you is, "What about Chicago?" What are they really saying when they ask you, "What about Chicago?" You're saying you don't care about your own life. Why do you care now? First and foremost, I tell people that's a lie. There are numerous organizations in the city of Chicago, One Northside being one of them, that I have a very good friend that works for, that is battling both the economic injustice that is taking place, which we have all seen and it has been proven to be the primary reason for violence. Economic injustice. They're also working on shooting violence, things of that nature. My boy's been shot twice, has been in the hospital, had to get things sewed up. And he's just a person responding through this organization called One Northside to stop these. So when you stop the conversation by saying, "But what about Chicago?" you're shitting on what this man just got sewed up for. And saying that he don't care. He cares a lot.
Right. Yeah, I think it comes back to just lack of awareness, lack of context, and lack of understanding. And it's just why, going back to what Andrew said about your tweet, I'll always remember that. Like, but these 2-3 hours, I don't know how long we've been going for, but for what that's been for me, and I know that's what's going to be for a lot of people listening, is context and understanding.
Right.
A lot of the questions that are so surface level that you're seeing everywhere are actually eliminated.
Right.
They're actually eliminated
For the most part.
right?
I hope so. I hope after this you understand that.
Right, oh,
you're
yeah.
not even asking no question.
Right.
Right.
And so, like, you know, when you're like, white guys reach out to you saying, "Hey, I hope you're doing well," it's almost like, if I'm gonna do it, if it ever happens again, and I'm in the situation where I gotta, you know, reach out to my black friend because I know he's feeling a certain way, it's not, "Hey, how you feeling?" because I already know how he's feeling.
Honestly, it's whatever. If you reach out, I'm glad because I know you're thinking of me.
Yeah.
I'm talking to my people right now, wherever the camera is. Thank you for reaching out. I do appreciate it. It
Yeah,
shows
yeah.
that you care.
Well, because
But at the same time, just respect that I'm not going to answer. I'm just not.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Just respect it.
Because you gotta understand, like, from our side of where I don't say our side, but just like how I feel is like, I don't necessarily know if I have a voice to say anything. And then when people are texting me saying, "Hey, you got to do this. Hey, you got to do this," it's like, I don't know. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. And if I do say something, someone might look at it the wrong way, and then now I look bad, right?
Misinterpreted.
Right. And I kind of took it as a challenge. Like, well, no, I want to try this and learn and
Right.
figure out and listen and
Right.
go through the motions. And so that is what just goes to my head, is like, silence is almost better because it's easier.
Much easier.
Yeah, I mean, and always just recognize that it starts with simple conversations. Like it starts
Yeah,
with the small
yeah.
conversations.
Yeah.
You know, racism is learned activity. It's not natural. That's why you have children. I mean, one of the most beautiful articles that I read last year, it showed two kids. I believe they were in like kindergarten or something like that, and it was a young black boy, young white boy, and the young white boy went to the young black boy's barber, and they got the same haircut, and then they went back to class, and they asked their teacher, "Who is who?" A child said that. They said, "We did this to trick her. We knew she would never be able to tell us apart because of our haircut."
Wow.
Racism is a learned behavior. It's also a behavior that is based upon privilege. Once again, and I say that because
Answer what is racism, by the way, too, when you get a chance, because,
Yeah.
well, black people are racist, too. Well, that was racist. You can't say that, Ayo. Please take care of that for me.
yeah, because here's the thing: racism is position plus pigment plus power.
Can you say that one more time?
Simple equation there.
Yeah, racism is Dang,
You said position.
position. There
plus
we go.
pigment
Plus pigment.
plus power.
Plus power.
Mhm.
And what that means is that you can have any opinion that you want to and be prejudiced about how you feel about individuals. But unless you have the power to make that a reality, how are you using that race to or your race to hurt somebody else? Right? Like, we say, yes, that's racist because in a system where me and you can have the same exact application for a house for a loan. You know what I'm saying? At Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo just got sued over this for like the third time in like 12 years. Your interest rate is going to be 1.25. Mine's going to be 3.37. Exact same.
Same credit.
Yeah.
Same. Both of y'all work at Eco Lab. You know what I'm saying? Both of you guys got 2 kids.
Like, that's
Right.
the reality.
Same makeup.
Yeah. And, part of the reason they were doing it was saying things along the lines of, well, like, what's about credit? We're like, nah, we put the exact credit on here. There's been investigative reports that people have been doing where they're saying, oh, well, applications for school. One of the best examples I've ever had is as a lawyer, right? So you take the bar exam, right? And then when you take the bar exam, what most states like to do is they like to take your essays. And they like it to go through multiple hands, right? Because one person's style shouldn't dictate whether you pass the bar exam or not with an adequate score. So what they did is a study, and they gave it to 2 sets of individuals. They were all lawyers in different firms. It was supposed to be a blind study, but they told them that the applicant on the left was a white guy, and the applicant on the right was a black guy. Right, but they both took the bar. So you're thinking they're lawyers. Like, anybody can be a lawyer, if you put in enough work and do what you need to do or whatever. So we should be beyond that. Well, the African American's essay, which mind you was identical to the other essay, received less scores, received more criticism, received more critiques. He was told he should go back to legal research and writing, which is a first-year class in law school out of 3 years. All these things. The white guy, they were like, he has some things he can work on, but we think that that's not going to stop him from being an amazing lawyer. We love his analysis. And that was done, I think it was like 2016.
Dang.
Like, that's a blind study. So that's what I'm saying. Like, there is positions of power that, along with pigment, help the situation. Have y'all seen the movie Get Out?
Yes.
One of my favorite movies. She'll tell you. I went
watched it
to
one
the
time.
theater 6 times. Oh, 7. I'm sorry. 7. Hey, no, hey, don't, hey,
I can
hey,
do Get Out.
I'm not rich like that. I went on $5 Tuesdays and Thursdays. Don't do me like that. So, like, if you notice, when they had the scene where they were having the party in the back, and the only Asian character at that party asked dude, he said, do you find being an African American male here as an advantage or a disadvantage? That question shocked me when I first heard it. I'm like, what are you talking about, dude? Like, that doesn't make sense. But then when you look to the history in this country of how our Asian American brothers and sisters have been treated, put into internment camps. You'll also hear from some within the progressive movement that say that there is this likeness to whiteness that they try to reach because they have this perpetual vision from the majority that they're not American. So they try to do everything they possibly can to show you that, yes, I am. I got money. I got houses. I got cars. I'll even down the black man with you just to show you how down I am.
And that's real. That's a big St. Paul thing. Huge in St. Paul.
Yeah, and so it's interesting that he asked that question because he was literally asking, do you find it more of a beneficial to be looked at as if you are un-American or to think that you are un-American? That's a reality. That's a real thing. So it's just, yeah, man, it's just a lot that's coming out of all of this because these are things that you have to think about on a daily basis.
And things that we discuss not in front of you guys ever. You'll
Yes.
see you. I mean, I could go to school with you guys, live in the same dorm as you, be with you 9, 12 hours a day, be on a football field, locker room, lunchroom, and I'll still never talk to you about this, but it's something I'm either thinking or going back to my home base, and I call my home base my group of brothers, right? My people, and we talk about this all the time, discuss it all the time.
So yeah, I think that's the other thing too. Is just like I want to make sure that you're like, is there a way that we can, come back to it, and like you do feel comfortable talking to us about this stuff. I mean, you are right now, but like there need to be more guys like us who are just like, yeah, come on, it's
So-
like and actually have the conversation.
So we kind of discussed this. The minute it happened, I was done. I was completely done with it because usually we don't talk about it. And what I did is I basically called my people, my rights pastors brothers, people I grew up with, people in my church, cousins, family members. I said, it's COVID right now. We can't really be out the house, but we need to be with each other. Because if this is affecting y'all the same way it's affecting me, like we can't just internalize this and go back to work on Tuesday. It's just not going to happen.
Right.
Let's hop on Zoom and let's talk this through. So we had about 10 of us on Zoom the other day. I've had a few Zoom calls throughout the week, but this was the first one. And we started talking about how we're going to move forward. We're pissed off, and at first we were just letting the air out, right? Just bam, bam, man, fuck. Like I'm telling you, day one, I was on some fuck whitey shit. Like straight up, don't talk to me. I want to see you. We might have some altercations. But then when we started talking about moving forward, it was like, okay. First and foremost, you talked about lack thereof of knowledge or ignorance, which partially for somebody who I'm guessing I'm one of a few black people that, and I'm not saying me personally, but when you guys hang out in rooms of 20, there's probably one, maybe two black people in there. And if you see they're fine, you don't think there's an issue. That's partially our fault too, right? Because of the way we were raised to not really bring that up, right? Side note, I'm sorry, I keep doing this. You guys watch the Boondocks?
I never did. No.
Okay, so the Boondocks, there was, we got to put them on. There's a scene where Riley, he wakes up from a dream. He was scared as shit. He wakes up from a dream. And his grandma's like, you had that dream where you're telling white people truth again, huh? And he goes, oh, what are you talking about? And then flashback to the dream. He's like, excuse me. He's at a dinner party, right? Because white people have dinner parties in their backyard. He's at a dinner party. Excuse me. Hi, my name is Riley Freeland. I'd like to say a few things. Jesus was black. Ronald Reagan is the devil. And 9/11 was a conspiracy from the government. Thank you. And white people go crazy. Like, what? No. They just start like going over and just going nuts. And then he wakes him up. He's like, you was having that dream where you woke up the white people. You told the truth to white people. What I tell you about that? You can't tell the white people the truth. They can't handle the truth. Man, shit, I'm about to go find me a white person right now and go lie to him, right? So again, my point in saying that is going back is like, we need to start being truthful with white folks. Because we are all you guys have is CNN, BET, whatever. We are your actual interaction. We need to start telling you how we're feeling. That's something I'm going to start doing better at. Not worrying about as much as how I'm coming off or making people uncomfortable or letting a few jokes slide that shouldn't slide. Letting people talk about politics, letting people talk about the president that they voted for, and letting them know how that makes me feel. Because maybe that would have changed the way you voted. Hopefully, if you know how I truly feel about that. But if it was just another president to you, maybe you voted and maybe you didn't think it was serious. So that's one way I'm going to move forward is speaking. Now, I hope you guys would react and stop the gaslighting. Not you guys in particular, but just in general. Listen, stop gaslighting. Stop thinking things are unbelievable because you've never heard them before. Because I guarantee you, even though you spend 16 hours with me a day, there's still a part of me you will never know. I've lived with someone for 4 years who was white, and he's still like, we were talking about this the other night, he didn't know. I just let it out to him. He's seen my tweets and like, damn, Ayo, is that you? I'm like, yep. I write tweets and delete them all the time because I'm just like, no, they're not ready to hear this. They're not ready to hear this. They're not ready to hear this.
Dude.
So that's one, too. You got something?
I mean, I would say that the first thing is I'm big on self-awareness because my thing is, unless you know where your place is, where you feel that you fit somewhere, you can't truly exercise in that space authentically. So I would say, like, first and foremost, like, learn how to be uncomfortable. Make being uncomfortable a comfortable situation for you.
Amen.
Because it's being uncomfortable that are leading to certain things like the woman in the dog park who made sure that she told the police when she called them for absolutely no reason because it was actually her fault because she was supposed to have her dog on leash. This African American man is following me. You could have just been like, hey, there's this dude in this park that won't get off me. You brought that up for a reason. She weaponized her environment because she was uncomfortable. Like, how uncomfortable do you have to be to call the police on a child selling water because they don't have a permit? Like, how uncomfortable do you have to be to call the police on an African American student that's sleeping in a Yale lounge? that was taking a break from work.
Mm.
Like, how uncomfortable do you have to be to call the police on a police officer, or I'm sorry, you called the police on somebody that looked suspicious who had a flashlight and was wearing a police uniform who was black?
Right.
You really just called the police on the police because you are suspicious whether he's really police?
Right.
Learn to be comfortable in uncomfortable situations, because that's when you learn. Because I can tell you right now, I'm uncomfortable most of the time.
89%.
I have to, and that uncomfortableness I'm talking
and I'm
about.
asleep 9% of the time.
There
So
you go. Like, that uncomfortableness comes from, being in spaces where,
we're putting on a show. We're turning into character. When I wake up and put that suit on and walk into the office where it's Greg, Ralph, and Linda, I'm like, and scene. Let's go. Action, right?
Yeah.
That's not real me. Love to walk into the office just like, I see Aaron. Aaron's good, brother. How you doing, man? Good to see you.
already know what
We
it
can't.
is.
We can't do that. I can't do that. Hey, how you doing? Good to see you.
How are you?
Kids, right?
Oh,
No, right. Awesome.
yeah,
Good.
you already know what
Hey,
it is.
tell the wife I said hey, and drop off a casserole next week. All right? Like,
Gotcha.
that's not me. It's not me, but it's me all the time. It's insane, right?
Yeah, and I have to. I'm just a natural activist. Like, it's my mom's fault. I've been in this for a long time.
Blame it on
Right
books.
is right and wrong is wrong, and like, that's just how I am. And going into these spaces and having to make other people comfortable is where I'm uncomfortable, because I can't say certain things. Like, I got mad one day at the office, and I'm like, this judge and this person pissed me off, and they were like, who? And I was like, oh boy and oh girl. Like, and because in my mind, like, I don't give you a name when I'm really mad at you. I'm like, oh boy, man, buddy ass. You know what I'm saying?
Buddy with the hair, right? Some shit like that.
And I was called out by saying, did you just call that person oh girl? You're a misogynist. And I was like, what? I'm a who? With this whole award sitting in my office, it's like, Aaron, you center women's issues with the trainings and things that you do.
Yo,
Because I said, oh girl, because you didn't understand cultural context and cultural euphemisms, it automatically became my fault. Not because I was uncomfortable, but because that person became uncomfortable.
Yeah.
When you say no, you have to be careful how you say no. No, I'm good. Whoa, that's quite an attitude you have to here, sir. You all right? You need to go home for a little bit, come back? No, just tell you I'm good. No, it's all you. You got it. I mean, of course I have it, but, what are you referring to? So I think that even exchange would help a lot to have an authentic exchange. Because there are people that I can talk to. There's judges that I know of. We can sit in office, and once that door shuts,
Y'all can rap.
we have real rap.
You know what I mean?
Aaron, you can't say this, and this. Why? You can't do it. It's just where we at right now in the world. So I can't do those things. And so, just being open to understanding, like, what's really going on. Like, people think that privilege is like some discount card that you get and you can take it to Walmart and get 50% off. Like, life is easier for me. Swipe. Like, that's not what it is. What it literally means is that, yes, you have issues in your life, but race and structural racism has never been a part of it. That's all it means. Yes, yes, I understand that you lost your job because of COVID-19, brother. I feel for you. I understand that you can't pay your bills right now. I feel for you. And guess what? Also, when it's time to rehire, you're going to be the first on the line and I'm going to be last. But our credentials are the same. Why is that? So it's not as if it's like, oh, your life is just so easy and you've had everything in the world handed to you. There are a lot of people, a lot of Americans that have not had the plush lifestyle that we want to be, and that's why we put it on MTV. That's why we put it on BET. That's why we put it on ABC, and that's why we have award shows.
Right.
Because we want that posh life, but a majority of people don't live that way. And so because I understand that they don't live that way, you have to also see that the oppression Olympics ain't gonna work here. Because the first thing I hear is, well, you know they shoot more white people than black people last year, right? I was like, yes, you're right. I said it's also due to this little thing called proximity. You also have a larger number of individuals in the country. So the chances of you interacting with a police officer, period, is so much higher. What I'm looking at is proportionality.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is that if we both have 10 people, but you have 30 million people, and I have 15 million people, the death of my 10 people is going to be a higher proportion.
Mhm.
If we kept at that rate, my people would die out before the other group. That's all we're saying.
Yeah.
We're not saying that Caucasian folks are not shot. There was a brother, I shared it to my own Facebook. I talked to other people about it. I believe the brother was in California. It was a white guy, actually. And he was literally having a mental health like breakdown. And the police officer killed that man because he had a knife.
Mhm.
And I was like, yo, this is wrong. This is wrong. And to be honest with you, what was funny about the situation is that when this young guy died, it was not All Lives Matter that showed up on his behalf.
Where are they?
It was
Where
Black
they-
Lives Matter that showed up on this white man's behalf.
Mhm.
This brother who was unjustly murdered at the hands of police, who was having an obvious mental, and he called the police. That was the thing. So it's not like you were surprised with the situation. You knew what you were walking into, and that's how you decided to go about it.
Yeah.
Another guy, reporter guy, walking down the hallway. He was also white. Going down the hallway, they allegedly said that they heard that there was some type of drugs or something like that in the room, and it was him and I believe it was like two other women in the room. And this man comes out and he has his hands on his head. He's crying, bro. Like, I'm talking about like the nasty cry.
The ugly
Like,
one.
Ugly,
yeah.
ugly cry.
I'm talking about like
Yeah.
I know when I get to the house, I'm about to get a beating cry.
Yeah, she can
Like
take my
that.
ass
Oh
up.
my God, sorry, oh my God. He lays on the ground, bro. Hands like this. They killed that man.
Damn.
It was not All Lives Matter that was marching for this man. It was Black Lives Matter that was marching for him.
Mm.
So, what truly does All Lives Matter even mean? Because whenever we want you to show up, you do not. But whenever you hear one person scream Black Lives Matter, which, side note by the way, the screaming of, for those who don't know, the screaming of Black Lives Matter does not mean that anybody else's life matters less. It means that the important times, such as police-citizen interactions and other interactions with other citizens where they normally would be treated in a respectable manner, all of a sudden we end up dead. Now, when it's Black Lives Matter that are the ones that are showing up, why y'all only show up to combat that? Like, there was literally a whole march, a whole All Lives Matter march that was done just to be in opposition to people screaming Black Lives Matter. So, okay, you said there's more white people shot in America than black folks yearly by police officers, which I completely believe, and the stats state that. They clearly show that.
Right.
So where y'all at then? Not y'all, but like all people screaming All Lives Matter every time I say Black Lives Matter. Where were you?
Yeah.
How is it that you only care when I say something about this individual? And then all of a sudden to justify why you weren't there, and it's another thing. I hate people that equate everything. Like I hate this like I lost my job, everybody loses their job. Some woman tried to equate discrimination of minorities with her having to wear a mask in Menards, fam. Literally. You can look this up.
You can't make this shit up.
She literally said that today's the first day I've ever been discriminated against in my life. No, it wasn't her. It's because it was her kid. The government has said who are the most people susceptible right now to coronavirus. Elderly people, people with immunodeficiency deficiency issues, and then children. So they're like, yo, you have kids under the age of 3, we need you to put a mask on them. I'm not putting a mask on my children. This is discrimination. I don't like this. That's not discrimination. That's not how discrimination works. Like, that's not how this whole thing
You
works.
can't just get rid of discrimination. Like
Yeah.
you put the mask on, they not gonna touch
So-
you. I can't take my skin off. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
so I appreciate people trying to kill me with this all lives matter. They equate everything. There's racism here. There's racism everywhere. Okay, that's cool that there's racism everywhere, but let's talk about this in terms of car accidents, right? So there's car accidents everywhere. But if I have a highway that's right next to my house that tends to have a higher proportion of car accidents than everywhere else in the country, maybe it's time for us to handle the car accidents in my county.
Or just let's get rid of the drunk drivers. Oh, but everybody's driving crazy. No, but we're just talking about these people that are drinking and killing people because it's at a different rate. Like, nobody's doing that. My house is on fire, and all of a sudden, like, save my house. Like, no, let's save all houses. Bitch, what? My house is on fire. Are you serious? We're not talking about all houses. Why would you do that? And that's what I'm just like, that's how ridiculous it sounds to us.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I understand that too. Like it's interesting because it's so people want to combat, like it's so combative because it's identifying that Black Lives Matter, but it's an awareness campaign to understand the history behind why Black lives do matter.
We're just trying to be in line with you guys.
Exactly. Yeah. It's
So, and then another thing we're talking about, because you asked a question, basically, what can you do?
Yeah.
Another thing I'm thinking of is, no matter how many white people I'm around, I will never be in a room where there's 100% white people, because I'll always be in the room. So I can only say so many things. I can only be there so much. Now that you've let me speak, now that I'm finally doing my part to seek more, now that you are not gaslighting, you are listening, now that you are truly understanding what we're trying, picking up what we're laying down, now I feel like it is white America's turn to speak, especially when we're not in the room.
Right.
Because I'm not going to see y'all true, authentic selves, whether you're racist or not. You can be great right now. It's for TV, it's for ratings, whatever you call it. But you could call me a nigga when I leave. And I would never know. I would never know. But the thing is, somebody in here has to hold everybody accountable.
Right.
And then on top of that, you guys need to speak out and talk to your lawmakers and your people voting. Because, taxes and school referendums are obviously up here for you. But racism is down here. My point is to make it up here so you're making decisions based off race, racism, racial injustice,
Right.
sexism, economic discrimination, anything like that.
Yeah.
We need to let you know that's important so you can feel that too.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, well, not even on top of that, the thing is, like, us burning down Target is just as effective as you guys just speaking out. They're not going to listen to us. They're going to react to us. They'll listen to you guys.
Dang. Yeah.
So
We're ambassadors, essentially.
this country, all right, can I say it?
Yeah.
Can I say it? This country was built for y'all. It was built for y'all. They're not going to listen to us because we are second-class citizens. Fuck what the Constitution saying, a pursuit of happiness, every man's born. No, we're not. We're not equal. We're not. That's just what it is. We know it. That's why we're fighting for it. But until you guys can change that, or until you guys can speak and help us get our message across, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, like he said, it's really about accountability at the end of the day. It's about being able to have those conversations when somebody's not in the room. I can be in a room of all men, and when somebody says, I understand why these women are always blase, blase, blah, we can have that discussion. Because more than likely, it's a conversation I've had with my girlfriend already, my mom, other people. And if I just feel you're vehemently wrong, I'm going to let you know.
Holding them accountable in a room full of men.
In a room full of men. Like, I don't believe in abortion. Well, bro, here's my feeling. It's like, it is what it is. But at the end of the day, you aren't the person that has to live with it every day. You aren't the person that's actually impacted by it. It's not your right that's being taken away. So who are you to say that you are right about a body that is not yours?
Mm-hmm.
I'll do that outside the presence of women. I don't need a woman to be in there to be like, yo, what are you talking about?
Facts.
And I think we have to get back to a place where we can have conversations with folks of same, similar, and different backgrounds and have authentic and real conversations. Like, one of the greatest things that I ever saw is it was when there was 1,000 bajillion candidates for the Democratic nomination, right?
Last week.
Yeah, it was a bajillion people, right? And what's interesting is one of the candidates, maybe it was like Beto or somebody like that, they came and they went to the church and they were it was Beto, because that's when he was talking about the Freedom Riders and all that information about Black Lives Matter and everything. And somebody said something that stuck with me. They said, it's not enough for me for you to come to a church full of black people and tell us that you don't like racism and that you're going to do something about racism. It would be more impactful if you went to a church full of white people and you gave them that message.
Right.
Because, and that's true, because you're going here and you're going to say, oh yeah, I like racism. Hey, that's funny, man. I don't like it either. Like, I'm pretty sure there's not going to be anybody in that Black Southern Baptist church who's going to be like, hold on.
That guy's on to something there.
That's not gonna happen. So it's like, yes, you need to be having those conversations because it just sounds better. I mean, also,
That's why I'm glad we're finally, after he was on Charlamagne's show, we're trying to hold Joe Biden accountable. You ain't just gonna get these votes. You're gonna prove to us why you deserve these votes. Because call a spade a spade. The Democratic Party has been using and abusing us for many years.
Yeah,
They're just not getting us the votes. We're not giving votes anymore just because you are the better of the worst. You will earn this. I have an agenda. If you want this, boom, I'm going to stick it on the wall. That's exactly what you got to do to get these votes. Just like the Teamsters do, just like every union does, just like businesses do. You know what I mean? So,
but we're the only ones that are being called at this time racist for wanting that.
Right.
Like, you use the term black agenda, and they're like, it's an everybody agenda. And I'm like, okay, I get that, bro. I'm with you. However,
you kind of roll your eyes at that like response. Honestly, I can see why.
and it happens so much, dude. And that's why we don't talk about it no more. I'm like, man, let me just let you be about your business. Because here's the thing, I can really put you some knowledge.
Too much energy.
A, I don't got the energy. B, you probably ain't gonna listen. And C, I might end up stealing off you. So, not gonna do that.
I got you. It's just a constant battle, man. It's a constant thing that you hear, is because nobody wants to be called a racist. Like, nobody wants to believe that they are part of any type of problem that they deem to be outside of their control. Like, one thing that pisses me personally off is when people try to call me a misogynist. Misogynist? What? What are you talking about?
That means you're a great. It means you're a great masseuse, by the way.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
There you go.
But it's like, when somebody tells me that, I'm like, what are you talking about, dude? Like, I'm out here fighting for women's rights. You know what I'm saying? I'm out here standing up. I'm doing, everything that I can. But I also have to recognize how me being a man has certain privileges that I've never encountered before. Yeah, I could walk down the street and get robbed, but believe me, I don't know too many rapists out here trying to get jiggy with a 6'3", 265-pound black man. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm gonna fight you. You feel me? Like, I don't have to worry about those things. I don't have to worry about going over to somebody's house and the door locking. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't have to worry about
going to the club and getting grabbed all sorts of way. Being in a situation with just two people in the room and like, let me just do what this dude says so he doesn't kill me or rape me.
Yeah.
Rather than just say, no, I don't want to, and leave.
Exactly. Like, I don't have those type of concerns. I don't have the type of concerns of, okay, well, I just got this new position, but now I'm pregnant.
Yeah.
So
And
what
the
do I do?
employers look at you.
And the employer's looking at you differently. Like, I don't have to deal with those things. So, yes, I became part of that problem, in my opinion, the moment she lost her job because she got pregnant and gave it to me.
Whether you know it or not.
So what I can do is, now that I know this is an issue, as an ally, I can go ahead and say that ain't right.
Right.
Because it holds more weight coming from us. Because at that point, that's the interesting part. Being a black male, we're the minority in that situation. We're the majority, or not majority, but we are the place of power when it comes to sexism, which is, I think, sexism, minority diversity, and sexism, and accepting the LGBT community. I've really understood somewhat, finally, what's going through your head sometimes. Because there's so many things when it comes to women. I got some real strong black friends that speak up and let me know when I'm tripping or when things going on. And I thank them, because I would have never known. Because for years, they, just like us, are not saying things because they don't think we want to have this conversation. And if we do, we're not going to listen. And then on top of that, it's exhausting for them because they're always talking about it.
Right.
It's just it's a constant repetitive cycle, right? And that's what we're trying to break. We're trying to break the fact that you have to get exhausted explaining it to them. the fact that they aren't willing to listen, and the fact that they probably just don't want to be uncomfortable. And I think it starts with that, to be honest with you.
Actual factuals.
There it is. And so that's just, the main things that
We can think of up top.
that off top I could think about. Beyond that, man, it's really about structural change, man. Like strategizing, organizing, planning, and I don't think that is just a thing that white allies can do. I believe that it is something that we can do collectively, but the issue that comes up in a lot of rooms is that there's this concept that because I'm the door, I'm the boss, right? Because I have the power to invite you into this situation, I run this shit.
Right.
But if the purpose of you bringing me in was to change the very, like structurally, the very power that you have, why would I let you lead it? Because the only person in your mind that's not going to benefit from it is you. Because you're changing structurally how people are getting power and exerting that power.
Yeah.
So, and this happens in progressive circles. I used to be heavy in the progressive movement. I loved everything we're talking about. And then I started seeing some of the same
qualities or movements.
yeah, same things that I was seeing in some of the more conservative groups that I had issue with or whatever. It had to be, okay, well, let's do something about structural change. So then you would start to do something about structural change, and then guess what? Somebody's uncomfortable. Because now you're saying, hold up, there was, at one time, $500,000 in this account for small businesses. What do you mean that you're giving $250,000 of that to minority-owned businesses only? What do you mean? So why would you have that person over the whole thing? Because they're like, all right, well, you can give them like 100. You know what I'm saying?
Cool 50 piece.
Yeah,
You just need a 50
and
piece.
let me keep this over here. But it's really about, if you're real about it, creating that structural change, seeing what it looks like for everybody. You know what I'm saying? How that works. Like, yes, I don't think that it's good for anybody to lose their job. I get that. I also understand that, if some folks that I know lose their jobs, they have parents, they have savings, they have a lot of backing from their parents being smart a long time ago. And they put them trust accounts aside. They did all of those things. So if you lose your job and I lose my job and I have none of that,
And
on top of that,
I'm supporting folks.
yeah, and on top of that, it's like you not only are going through the mill, but then you got to go through the mill, and then you have to be exemplary. You know what I'm saying? Everybody wants the black guy until he gets too black. And then all of a sudden, I became the very enemy that you were concerned.
Man.
Remember that confirmation thing I was telling you about earlier? That's something that you had to believe in the first place for it to be an aha moment now. So once I became too black in it, I had somebody literally say that, oh, you were an organizer. Well, you do understand if you come here, you ain't going to be doing none of this protesting shit. I was told, and I told them why it was. Now, I guarantee you if I would have told them that I was marching for breast cancer awareness, they wouldn't have said that.
A little different story.
Yeah, they wouldn't have said that if I was telling them that I was marching for AIDS. They wouldn't have had an issue if I told them that I was, marching for Roe v. Wade for women's rights. So why is it a problem now? You know what I'm saying? Especially the situation that Buddy was talking about is the only situation where there was zero property destruction. So what are you really mad at, and what are you really trying to
Uncomfortable
silence?
with. Yeah.
What are you really uncomfortable with? And how do you deal with that uncomfortable, nature of looking at a world that has to give up some type of power, that has to reorder how we operate with each other, what we do. The one thing COVID-19 did that is going to change the game is, in my opinion, working from home.
Yeah.
Working from home. People will be able to save so much more money working from home. So you still in 2020 have a significant number of underprivileged homes that don't even have internet access. And you know why they don't have internet access? Because they're spending that money to go downtown to get a job or have a car, to pay the insurance, to do all this other stuff, all these extra ideas and things. And the last thing thinking about is getting internet. I get cable, you know what I'm saying? But not even,
Maybe.
you know what I'm saying? Maybe. But it's just something that we have to understand that it's going to change the game.
Yeah.
It's going to change the game for a lot of people in a lot of different ways. So how can we structurally make that happen, make it equitable, not just equal, equitable? There's a difference. You know what I'm saying? Equality means that everybody gets a piece of paper and pencil for the test. Equity means that everybody was prepared to take the test. So how are we making this equitable? How, you know what I'm saying? And we have to make sure that we are doing it collectively. Because, yeah, nobody should be left out.
Yeah.
I'm not saying anybody should be left out. I'm also saying, like, let's right some of these wrongs.
Yeah.
Let's see what's going on.
Dude. Well
You know?
said.
So
That rocks.
Well, now y'all know why I brought my big bro here, right?
I know
Yeah.
exactly why you brought him.
For
Yeah.
sure.
I brought my
dude.
big bro, and I'm telling you, it's about 200 of us too.
Yeah.
crazy.
It's
You know what I
amazing.
mean?
Yeah, and I really do. Out of the many things you said today, one of them being these are thoughts that you're having all the time. If you think I'm you said if you think I'm rambling, these are thoughts that I'm having all the time, and that's why it comes at it from all these angles and in all of these different situations. So I just thank you for sharing you. Thank you for sharing what's inside your
I
head.
appreciate y'all giving me the opportunity, man.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah. No, I think I'm now realizing, it's a podcast. Yeah, we talk about BS all the time, but like, I didn't realize until literally this week that we had a voice, and that because we are the Ordinary Average podcast, that's also our opportunity to get on anybody and everybody, and we're getting on the most important people right now.
It's the way to bring out the true story, man. Like, one of the things that I found most powerful is that I followed from Eau Clare majority of what happened in the last 4 days on Facebook. I didn't follow CNN. I didn't follow Fox. I didn't follow CNBC. I didn't follow any of these major news anchors. Why? Because I was getting the real story. I was getting the raw story. I was getting the actual story. It's the first time in a long time we've actually been able to control the narrative of what's going on.
Yeah.
When you're only watching these major networks who need attention, right? They're still trying to beat out everybody else, so they got to be provocative. So they have to say things that aren't necessarily true.
Yeah.
Or like, what was it, WCCO that gets on my nerves all the time? Because they always like to put the opposing thing on there. Like when Jamar Clark was going down, they were the first ones to put his sister on there, saying things like, what the hell y'all doing? Y'all over here burning all this stuff. Just going off, talking about how she didn't agree with the fact that people were protesting for her own brother. Why are you putting that out there? Like, what purpose did that serve? If the purpose of you coming into the community is to understand what happened, why it happened, and why people are responding in this way, what does that have to do with making his sister the centerpiece of dissent in order to strengthen the divide of people who already thought that we were overreacting?
Which for a second we were unified. Literally, like right before the protest and the death.
Absolutely.
I think not the first time ever, but like when we talk about COVID, we talk about 9/11. That was one of the times for like 7 hours. We was all together. Like, I'm like, damn, finally you see, like, I'm here. Like, the middle child that finally gets attention, like, yes, it's me. And then all of a sudden, boom, the attention gone because they divided it, created a new narrative. And I was like, why they rioting? I'm like, well, shit, why you killing? And now we on each other's necks all day.
But I think with your point on Facebook and the idea that now we have something like a podcast where it's 3 hours of you get to listen and tell the story, and any time where you have to are too exhausted to explain them, all you gotta say is, hey, go click on this, listen to that.
Was that a plug? Was that a plug?
No, but I just like to
try to get
and
followers.
it's a great plug. Go ahead.
So if that was a plug, we're gonna plug this. This is a special episode. Remember, like the Christmas episode of sitcoms growing up. This is a special episode. It's usually the back pocket, but this is the black pocket. And that was completely a joke. Don't do that because you guys will get attacked.
Right.
We will get. I can say that. Y'all can. Y'all can.
No, but I just think it's such a better way to communicate feelings, emotions, rights, wrongs, history, context. Like, it takes far more than the time we've spent to really, really understand it, right? It takes years for these experiences and these things to actually internalize. But I don't think the idea of putting a headline out and dividing someone based off of 6 words or an article or a tweet or something is the way that we need to communicate.
Absolutely. We have to get back to news where individuals gave the fact and they let you come up with your own opinion.
Yeah.
We've now come to a place where no matter what you're watching, somebody has an agenda, because they have money on the line. Like,
And ratings too.
yeah, ratings. You know what I'm saying? Commercials.
Bosses,
You know what I'm
all
saying?
that.
All types of stuff. So I see it all the time, man. And we got to realize, like, this is stuff like this is generations in the making. You know what I'm saying? Like, the helplessness and hopelessness that some people feel is because they understand history. You know what I'm saying? We understand that what Black Wall Street was in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where we had all of our own. We was like, I'm talking about everything. Our own banks, our own schools, our own taxi driving companies, laundromats.
Don't know about Tulsa, Oklahoma. Man,
All of that.
Why
You
wasn't
should
that?
look-
Why
you
wasn't
should
that?
look
Why
at
wasn't
that.
that in my history book, man?
Exactly. And it was 100% black people. You know what I'm saying? And it was taken down
And it rivaled New York
because
City.
of
Vibrant,
because of
booming.
race riots.
Really?
It was race riots. Literally, people on the other side were like, I can't have them be more successful than we are. And it was taken down. Not only was this place taken down in race riots, but it's the only recorded time in American history that a town had bombs dropped on it by the United States government. You can't find, other than Push, you can't find any other time that America has dropped bombs on its own people.
Yeah.
For no reason. Like, and of course it started out because there's this nice little lie that people like to tell. Once again, it's very race oriented about black men and white women. Right? We're always these savages raping some white woman back in history. Like, almost every single time. That's how it was started in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Allegedly, they tried to make up a story that said some guys raped a white woman. They couldn't even figure out who it was, so they was like, fuck this, we already over here, let's just do what we need to do. Also, let's talk about the town of Rosewood. You know what I'm saying? Where, once again, the term don't get caught across the tracks became real. There's literally a picture before and after of the black side of town, the train tracks, white side of town. The end is the entire black side burned down, the same train tracks, and the white side is still up. And that, once again, started because this woman got caught. She said she was raped by a black man. They went through that town. They killed people. So there's a whole movie about this with Vin Rames. Feel free to check that out. It's one of my favorite movies. They killed those people. It just seems like every single time African Americans have successfully come together and said, I'm gonna make my own. I'm not just going to be in a community that you put me in, because you get money every step of the way. You get my rent. I don't own. You know what I'm saying? I spend my money at your grocery stores. I store my money inside of your banks. I go to the schools that you dictate the curriculum in,
And the
so that
teachers are
I
white
can't
also.
even tell you what to teach my children.
Get arrested by your police officers.
Yeah, I'm arrested by police officers that paid for, because police officers aren't really meant to protect people. They're meant to protect property. So that's why you get put into this small space. That's where broken window policies coming from. Why is it called broken window? It's called broken window policies because it's meant to basically lay a crime-ridden area. It's about property.
Right.
And so if you stay on this type of property, you must be this type of person. So you have all of these instances. You know what I'm saying? Some people don't know about Seneca Village. Are you aware of what Seneca Village is?
I'm not.
I've
Now-
heard it. I don't know what it is. Yeah.
So Seneca Village, so you now know it right now as Central Park. Seneca Village was a group of individuals that came up from the south into the north. You know what I'm saying? It was black folks, our gypsy brothers and sisters, as you know what I'm saying, I don't know what the official term is. They came up there as well. They were making money. They were doing their thing. They were creating for themselves. And then the city of New York was like, yo, son, like, it's cool that y'all out here doing what you need to do, but I need you to move. And they're like, why? Why? That doesn't make sense. Why? There's no reason for us to move. They say, basically, either you gonna move, or we're gonna make you move. Once again,
Sounds real familiar. I think something like that may have happened here in the Twin Cities at one point.
yeah, it's called Rondo.
Oh, Rondo, North Side. What was
That was North Side. That was St. Paul.
No, I'm saying North Side and Rondo.
Yeah.
There's a fixture. Maybe you've heard of it. Highway 94 was not there always. right? Highway 94 went through the most vibrant black neighborhood, arguably in the Midwest. Vibrant black neighborhood, the Rondo neighborhood.
Rondo used to put in work, bro.
And when we talk about Rondo, we're talking about what you guys know as McAllister, Groveland, and Frogtown. It was all one place. That's where all the black doctors, lawyers, as far as the Great Migration from the South, came up. Chicago, then went to Milwaukee, then went to Minneapolis, then went to Kansas City, Iowa, right? That was our hub before the north side became our hub. What it is like, then we got to build this highway. Where are we going to build through? Let's build it this way. No. The Jewish people won't let us do it. Let's build it this way. Nah, the white folks won't let us do it. Let's build it this way. Well, the Middle Easterns, whatever it was. Black people with no voice. They're not in City Hall. They have no legislative power, and they're doing some good things there. Let's build this highway through there and tear apart the community.
Like through the middle.
Through the damn middle.
Yeah.
Make people leave. I don't know if they paid for their homes, but basically, you had a neighbor that one day he was gone.
Yeah.
You had stores, they were gone. Banks gone. All of this just gone. That happened here in the Twin Cities. People don't know about that. When you learn about Minnesota history, you learn about the Beaver Pelps, Fort Snelling, French
Flour
Indian
mills.
War. You know what I mean? Pillsbury Company, cool.
Yeah.
They don't talk about that.
Yeah.
Because you
That's
just have to be
crazy.
put into the mindset of what some people, some people just have such simple solutions to the most complicated questions. Like, oh, well, why don't you just buy your house? Why don't you just open your own store?
Why don't you just get a job?
Why don't you go to
college?
Yeah, why don't you just and we have to understand the historical significance of why there's not more ownership. It's projected by 2040 allegedly that that African Americans will be at zero in terms of our economic abilities.
Really?
Zero. That means we'll own nothing. That means there's no more money left. It's projected to be zero.
I wonder why that is.
I mean, part of it is just conglomerates,
Yeah.
and like you have all these people continuing to they'll own 5 lots, and then the next thing you know, 5 lots over north burn down, and the first thing they do is buy those other 5 lots.
Right.
And they're not.
'Cause they have
Yes,
to.
exactly.
yeah,
Got the capital, and they're not going to give it up to anybody. So
And
now
it's
we
long
continue
term.
to be
And you set it up long term.
exactly.
Now you're the
and we can
landlord, and
be
white people
outside.
may live there, but now we're going to rent it to them, and you will pay our mortgages, you will pay our loans, right?
Right.
Exactly.
Which is why the whole University Avenue thing is very near and dear to me, because it doesn't look like what it was, and on top of that, the inhabitants will never look like what it was. Right when I knew there was been that stadium there, I'm like, it's a wrap.
It's
Like
over.
the light rail was one thing, but like once they built the stadium, I'm like, yeah, it's over. It's a
over.
countdown.
It's over. It's crazy.
So yeah,
That's
man,
crazy.
That's just,
That's
So
a little
it's-
something.
it's-
We
it's-
could
it's
go
history,
for
man.
hours, my
Yeah.
guy.
Oh, I know.
We could go for
It's
hours.
history.
I know.
Because I'm one of those people, like, one thing that burns my soul, I hate when somebody tells me that I'm just complaining. Like, I hate when they say you're just trying to use the race card. I hate when they say, oh,
Gaslighting.
well, you're just being a victim. Like, no, I understand history. Like, understand that number one, the reason why violence is a last resort for a lot of African American communities, in my opinion, is because we have learned that those who we consider to be the opposition, violence has always been their first reaction. It's always been first. Like everything that, Malcolm X said it best. He was like, "You're talking to me about violence. You're saying that we're speaking violence." He said everything I learned about violence I learned from George Washington. Everything I learned about violence, I learned from your Revolutionary War. And now you telling me, because I want to use the same tactics to free my people, that I'm violent.
Right.
That doesn't make sense. Every hero I've ever had has been assassinated. Period.
Dang.
Martin Luther King Jr. stood up too fast, assassinated. Malcolm X stood up too soon, assassinated. Huey P. in the middle of the night, gone. You know what I'm saying?
Even the few presidents that were even the few white presidents that were more progressively thinking. JFK,
assassinated, bro. So, and then you have this thing called, and this last thing, I'm sorry, COINTELPRO. Are you familiar?
COINTELPRO. No.
Counterintelligence programming is a program that was put into federal use to disrupt the Black Panthers, to disrupt the hippie movement. It was really about
Terrorism, right? It was originally put into play for terrorism,
they
and then
called
they
it-
used it for every other reason but terrorism.
That's
Heard
the,
of this?
that's the
Yeah.
buzzword.
So it was originally they classified them as terrorists, but they weren't. Like
Yeah.
they classified Martin Luther King Jr. as a terrorist. Understand that Martin Luther King Jr. died on the terrorist list.
That's crazy.
Like, think about that. So, what they do is they intentionally put in misinformation, and they do certain things like tactics such as getting people to enter into movements or to enter into marches, which we're saying we want to be peaceful, and then that person starts busting a little bit of shit up. That's a counterintelligence programming method. That's what happens. And so one of the things about COINTELPRO that you should know is that one of the rules is there can never be a rising of a black messiah.
Really?
That's lit. You could look it up.
It's just
There can
completely-
be no messiah. There was one person that came close. His name was Fred Hampton out of Chicago. He was Black Panther. He was somebody that did something that they knew they had to kill him for. And that thing is he talked to people in Chicago and he said, listen, it's all these folks up here making all this money, man, that are not trying to move our communities forward. They're intentionally hindering our communities. They're keeping it so that we have to depend upon them when that doesn't make sense. He then went out into the farmland and basically said from the hoods to the woods, all of us are getting done in by this same group of people. What are we going to do about it? And they said, well, how about we get together? You know what that sounds like to me? That sounds like something a Messiah would do. And once that was found out, this man was in his apartment, right? And he had like two other Panthers in there, and his girlfriend, his wife, she was there too. She was pregnant, and allegedly, the story is they told him to leave, like to get out, come out of the apartment. But they were there for no reason. And allegedly he didn't come out, or they try to say a shot rang out from the house. And keep in mind, this man has his pregnant wife in there. They took a Tommy gun and they just unloaded on this man's full house.
Damn.
Like directly. I'm talking about let every shell off. When they drug him out of the house, like they drug him out down the steps and put his body on the sidewalk. Didn't even cover it for hours. Because they wanted you to see what being a Messiah would do.
Jeez.
So I say every one of my heroes has been assassinated. Why would that make me want to rush to be the next one?
That's crazy. Well said. That's.
Look up his story, Fred Hampton, man. He was a good one. He was a real good one. They just made a bust of his head like a year or two ago, and they put it in one of the parks in Chicago, man. Y'all should go visit the site, man. Look it up.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, you guys are incredible, both of you.
I appreciate y'all, man, for the opportunity to just talk.
No, again, we're thankful to have you guys here, man, because without you guys here, we have no idea what's like. We don't have necessarily the context or the knowledge of wealth, but after this, like, it's just amazing that we do now, and I'm so thankful for you guys coming on, talking about it, especially in these hard times, especially with everything going on already. Very amazing and super impressed that you guys, now knowing what's going through your head, like, you guys are kick-ass, man. Nothing but extraordinary. And I'm just so impressed, and you've changed the course of my thought for life. There's a point now where I had you guys on, and I'm just thank you. Thank you.
Thank y'all. I appreciate
You guys rock.
Thank you very much. Any last words?
That's a wrap, baby.
That's a wrap.
All right, my dudes. See, there you go. I even got 3 hours to spare for your.
We went in from